Absolutely.
Should a thief go to jail when he steals?
Absolutely.
Should a robber pay back the money he robbed?
Absolutely.
So why shouldn't the white man pay for what he did?
That's right. That's right. One day you'll see just how it feels. Payback is a dog. It's a dog. Payback is a dog. It's a dog. Payback is a dog. It's a dog. Payback is a dog. It's a dog.
I'm in a hell of a hole. Was never expected to grow. Just obstacle set in the road. That a result of me selling my soul. The story I'm telling is cold, but yet it's what everyone knows. The white man's the devil is known. America was never a home. Only a activity, save facility, hating, disfigure me. They claim that I'm lazy, be killing me. Maybe the slavery draining my energy. 400 years and counting. The trail of my tears is countless. Main fact that I'm here is astounding, but I can't wait till this shit is surrounded. Ready to tangle my king and the angel, be ready to rap. Crack in the sky, nuclear missiles will make it official. I'm capturing every crack I'm surviving. Put them all in chains where they need to be. Slavery for me. And let the whole world see that with them in the cage and safer in the streets. Put the dog on a leash. Get resolved for the beast. 144, get the brutal show, we could all be at peace. As soon as the trumpets are sound, your kingdom, we busting it down. The only way justice is found, the time for your judgment is now.
You'll see just how it feels. Payback is a dog. It's a dog. Payback is a dog. It's a dog. Payback is a dog. It's a dog. Payback is a dog. It's a dog.
Look, ain't no remorse in my blood slump. It won't be no compromise. Now it's time to feed the worms. Watch his body turn to flies. I clutch iron while you trust the lies. The next Glock I buy gon' be Gen 5. I get it customized. And sending shots off like farewell. Praying payback come back around like a carousel. Still remember your Honda's words ringing in my head like bells. Said you in his body, you fit the Lord, fuck the cartel. Triangle choke, apply pressure to the game like I did Vondale. Payback's a bitch in a dress, she a bombshell. Revenge is served cold, I just hope they make an oxtail. Glock fresh out the box, I swear it got that new car smell. Made myself a target in the world of mad shooters. There was design fire for our babies to pass through. In the day of our king's reign, I'll be overzealous. They bought my jealous, I bought brand new parabellums.
One day you'll see just how it feels. Payback is a
Shalom, 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 Richmond. Shalom, Israel. Wrap it up. Hope everybody out there is doing wonderful tonight. We are the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. Started out of 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commander General Yohana. We are not affiliated with any other Israelite group or Christian organization. We teach the truth of the Bible. We've been teaching the truth of the Bible since 1969, that Blacks, Latinos, and Native Indians are God's chosen people, that we are the Israelites. When you read that story, that account of Moses walking us up out of Egypt, getting us from up under Pharaoh, that's us. Those are Blacks, Latinos, and Native Indians that he's taken away from Egypt. That's our story. So often we've heard these stories and we don't even make that connection, don't realize that that's us is talking about. We've been given the narrative that it's everybody else. Everybody else shares in our legacy, shares in our story, shares in our history. And conditionally, psychologically, when we hear that, we hear about Christ, we hear about Jesus, who they call Jesus, who the world calls Jesus, we call Yahweh Shai. His name is Yahweh Shai in the Hebrew. when we hear about God, the angels, from all the depictions we've seen throughout our lives, our history, throughout the churches and art and school and so forth, we immediately think of the oppressor. We think of the oppressor. We think of them as being the holy ones, the special ones, the good of the earth. And that's just not the case. And it's never been the case. It's never been the case. It's always been a steady stream of propaganda. And this oppressor specializes in propaganda. They specialize in propaganda. They perfected it over the years to make us see things that aren't really there, to make us see and view ourselves as the evil, as the wicked, as the demon, as opposed to putting that title rightfully so on the ones that it belongs to. We think everything white is right and everything black is dingy, dirty, evil, and wicked. And again, that's just not the case. So again, clap it up. Shalom, Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shah Barakatah, to all the brothers in the building. I'm sorry, Shalom, Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shah Barakatah, to the brothers. Yahweh Shema Alatan, Yahweh Shah Barakatah, to the sisters. Do a little quick roll call. We got Sister Raya in the building. What's going on, sis? We got Sister Dawn in the, Sister Aisha in the building. I'm trying to work on different things with the intro. I see everybody else's classes and so forth, and they always got the raw music, and that's one of my favorite songs right now. That was playing, because payback truly is a dog, and I can't wait. Lord willing, it's amazing how your path to being a good Christian, to being a good American, is forfeiting. It's forfeiting the justice, because really that's all that is. Payback. When you say talking about payback, revenge, and so forth, that's just justice. But unfortunately, us as a people, we don't even know what justice is. We've been taught to look at everybody else's justice, make sure everybody else get justice, and forfeit and abandon ours. And we don't even know what that looks like, what that feels like. We think justice is a police is an unalive one of us actually getting charged with something, not going to jail, not paying for his cause, not paying for the life that he took with his life. But we actually think justice is just him getting charged. We'll see them get charged, and we'll be like, okay, man, we making progress, and that's just not the case. So again, that's one reason why I kind of love that song, because it helps to recalibrate the mind, and I saw it again, because we should be a people that look for justice. We should be a people that ask for justice. We should be a people that are free and want freedom. And unfortunately, underneath that Christian church, underneath that Muslim mosque, underneath religion, period, religion just teaches you to be subservient to another group of people. Religion teaches you to be subservient, to be to allow everybody else to reap the benefits, and you be at the bottom of society. Everybody else to make the decisions, and you live with the rules and stuff that they come up with, they make. And that's what religion teaches you. And it teaches you that's the right thing, even though that's the goal for nobody else, but it's the goal for us. And we accept and we believe that, and we don't even see the fallacy within that. So again, payback, karma, justice. Justice is something that the Most High tells us, if we serve and obey him, that our enemies will be his enemies, and his enemies our enemies. You won't get that in that church. That church tells you that we're all friends. We should just hold hands and get along. We all friends. Pray on it. It's going to be okay. And that's just not the truth. Religion has nothing to do whatsoever with the Bible. So again, thank the water for everybody that's here. Shout out to Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shah Barakatah, Brother Stephen Baldwin in the building. Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shah Barakatah, Officer Shah in the building. Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shah, Officer Mataza Akra in the building. And Yahweh Shema Alatan Ba'ashem Yahweh Shah, the Sister Coco, is also in the building. So again, I just thank everybody for being here. Everybody for taking your responsibility, your role in rebuilding or building this nation up seriously and diligently, because it's needed. Tonight is the Virginia's Brotherhood class. We always like to start our Brotherhood class off the same way. We learn through repetition. We learn through redundancy. We learn by going over things over and over again. This is how they taught and broke us to begin with. They didn't just They didn't just instill the slavery mentality on us day one or a couple hours. It was a lifelong processes of breaking us down, of breaking through that psyche. It's the reason why we don't look for payback. It's the reason why we look to hold hands with the people that persecute and unalive us and do us wrong. It's a reason why we don't see anything wrong with them, but we see everything wrong with us. That just didn't happen overnight. That took a lot of generations. It took a lot of generations of abuse, of brutality, of assault, of unaliving. And over the years, it just compounded, and it gets worse and worse and worse. And it's a continual process. It's a continual process. It doesn't stop. They don't stop. They don't sleep. They don't quit. Our enemy does not quit. Our enemy bombards and attacks us through our television. It attacks us through the radio. It attacks you while you're on your job. Any and every piece of every facet of the fabric of America is designed to keep you from knowing who you are. It's designed to make you a good slave. It's designed to make you subservient to these people. It's designed to make sure that they never, ever, ever, ever have to pay for the crimes that they've done against the children of the Lord. So again, tonight Brotherhood class. We always like to start off the same way. Brotherhood, something that we are severely lacking in our community. If we could replace that word brotherhood with another word, what would it be? What's synonymous? What is synonymous with brotherhood? If you could type that in the chat for me, what's synonymous with brotherhood? Who could tell me what's synonymous with brotherhood? One thing that church, these religions, this school system, this government, this place has done, it has eroded our ability to have reading comprehension. We don't think for ourselves. We think for ourselves. We think that we're in charge. We think we're making the decisions that we make because we truly just feel like that's what we want to do. And we don't realize it's a whole nother hand controlling that puppet, controlling us, putting that battery in our back. The oppressor tells us when to love. The oppressor tells us when to love. The oppressor tells us when to hate. The oppressor tells us when to smile. The oppressor tells us when to make friends. The oppressor tells us when to fight, when to be angry, when to go to war. The oppressor tells us when it's peace, when it's never been peace here. He gives us that illusion of peace, and we believe and we go for that as well. And we think that it's us calling the shots. We think that it's us making the plans and we just being us, but it's not like that. We didn't get the idea of being gangsters from each other. We got that from the mob. We got that from the mafia. We got that from the oppressor. We didn't get, you see a lot of us in our music, it portrays selling drugs and doing drugs. Just 80% of our music now is selling drugs and doing drugs. And again, that's not our culture. That's something that we got from the oppressor. The fact that we see that as us, we see that as a definition, as a characteristic of us, is just because, again, that's something that was designed specifically for the oppressor. That's an accepted role here in America. So it's very important that we get back to what these words really mean. We get back to the true definition of them. So again, for brotherhood, another word for brotherhood, let's give off some Mataza Akarai a hand of sisterhood. Let's give Sister Raya a hand. She says sisterhood. Let's give my rib a hand. She says sisterhood. Let's give Sister Coco a hand. She says sisterhood, and also Brother Stephen Baldwin also said sisterhood. So again, sisterhood, brotherhood, and sisterhood are synonymous to one another. We don't, and here in the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, we don't have a woman's class and then a man's class and then children's class. That's some garbage that they give you in church. They give you in church to separate you, just like with any good war tactic. Divide and conquer. I give you a set of rules. I give you a set of rules. I give you a set of directives. Nobody kind of knows what goes on, and it makes everybody weaker. It makes it easier for me to isolate you and me to teach you what I want to teach you. It makes it easier for the inconsistencies in the teachings, the inconsistencies in the rules and the regulations, and things that just don't make sense and not fair. It makes it easier for me to push that on you and you believe it because you don't have the opportunity to compare that with everybody else. So that's something that we don't do here in the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. We learn together. We learn together. We rise together. When you hear us say Kwam Yasharallah, that's rise up, Israel. We rise together, just like we've sank as a nation together. When we went into those slave ships, all together, the good, the bad, the ugly. Everybody went in that. And being an individual is just another trick of the oppressor. They've used that as a means, a way to separate. Again, that divide and conquer. I give you a couple million, I give you this, I give you a good role, I give you a good title, I'll put you right here next to the slave master, just how they did with the field Negroes and the house Negroes, and have you fight against each other, have you think one of them is doing better off or one of them is better off than the other one. And in reality, we both are underneath the oppressor. Both underneath the oppressor. Both have to deal with the oppressor. The field Negro will look at the house Negro and be envious, and the house Negro will look at the field Negro and be envious of his freedom, envious of his illusion of freedom, of being so far the distance he had with the slave master. The house field Negro will look at the house Negro and be envious of him getting all the amenities he got because he was so much closer to the slave master. And in the end, we're all still slaves. It don't matter if you're $1 million slave, $1 billion slave. It doesn't matter. You're still a slave here in this system here. They don't allow for anything else. Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shabrakatah, the troop Shemaga Bar in the building. My rib said we're both slaves, and that's absolutely correct. We're both slaves. We're both on that side. We're both underneath the oppressor. And until we learn that, until we realize that as a people, and I'm not speaking about y'all in this class, because you in this class, you've already realized that you already can see that it's a very, very big difference with Blacks, Latinos, and Native Indians being here in this country as opposed to everybody else. We've always been at the bottom, even though we've made every contribution there is, but we're still at the bottom. And again, it doesn't matter how much you have. I can have $1 billion, but if I got $1 billion and I can't use none of that wealth, none of those resources to save or uplift or free my people. If I still can get pulled over on the side of the road by an oppressor that's making $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a year, my $1 billion behind, and he still can pull me out, unalive me on camera, in front of everybody, put his knee on my neck 8-9 minutes on camera in front of everybody. And first off, none of my people do anything to help me, I'm still a slave. Secondly, then if everybody sees it, it goes to their quote unquote justice system and nothing happens to him. He gets a paid vacation. He gets shifted off to another county, another precinct, and is allowed to continue to do it over and over again. The fact that I even have to go to his judicial system, his justice system, when the oppressor has never paid for none of the crimes they have ever committed. The biggest thief in the world will lock you up for stealing. They've never paid for none of that theft. The biggest unaliver in the world will lock you up for unaliving, but they have never paid for none of the unaliving that they've done. The countless, the hundreds and hundreds of millions of souls that they have taken and decimated and eliminated from off of this planet that they have never paid for. They let you shoot Ray Ray in the hood, let you shoot Pookie, let you and old girl get into it, and one of y'all become unlocked. Somebody's going to jail for it. Somebody's going, because they're going to uphold justice for them. They're going to uphold their sense of justice to protect them. But we don't understand what that means for us as a people. Officer Mataza Akara says Kanye found out that when he found that out when he lost one bill in a day or two trying to claim his heritage as an Israelite. And I'm with you, Officer Mataza Akara. He did find out, but I have little stock. and it's not just even so much the entertainers or stars or but really anybody that's not Israelite school or universal practical knowledge. If they're not in here with us, I have very, very, very little faith in what they know, what they claim to know. But even because if you look at what he said, at the time, it was him, it was Kyrie that was kind of out in the headlines talking about it. There's been a couple more stars before, but they learned real quick to be quiet. I know Kendrick came out in his couple of albums saying that he was don't call him black no more. That's a color here, Israelite. He has said a couple of things. I think even Kodak Black had even came out and said a couple of things before. And throughout history, if you look at different artists, it's came out. It's come out before. But the thing about Kendrick and I'm sorry about Kanye and Kyrie, all these K's, about Kanye and Kyrie, they weren't even saying They weren't even taking the same radical approach that we take. They weren't, quote unquote, being as extreme as we are here in the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, because they were just giving you a portion of the truth. They were saying, well, we Israelite, we Hebrews too, we Israelites too. They were still leaving that door open for the oppressor to come through it. And even though they were still leaving that door open for the oppressor, that wasn't good enough for them. And real quick, he found out that it's certain things that, again, if you don't have the protection of the Lord when you're saying them, when you're doing them, it's just not going to be allowed here. So you are absolutely correct. They hit them pockets real quick, real fast. They hit them pockets. And even that shows you that we have this myth. We have this common myth in our community amongst our people where we think, well, it's about the money, the money, the wealth, the resources that's going to save us. The money, the wealth, that's not going to save us. That's never been able to save us before. Kanye, with all of that money that he had, one of the highest paid rappers ever, billions. I mean, Kanye was getting that oppressor money when them albums dropped. It got to a point where, in my opinion, I'm gonna be a little biased here. In my opinion, Kanye was one of my favorite artists, and then he kind of lost his mind after he started messing with them oppressors. And I didn't like the music like it was before. I actually think the music got a little whack. But he would drop an album and it would go platinum that same day, or within hours it would be, because he had that fan base. But even with that, all that money, all that wealth, all that influence, you still can't say that you're a Jew here in America in 2023. And that shows you again right there, prime example how we are slaves here. We are still underneath another nation of people. And the Lord knew this. The Lord, in his wisdom that he departed upon us, knew this. You can't be a nation inside of another nation and not be on the bottom if you're us. You either gonna want to be in charge, and in rulership, or you're gonna be on the bottom and subservient to other people. We were given our heritage comes from the Lord. Our heritage, our culture, our sense of our standards of morals, our moral compass comes from the Lord. Our way of life comes from the Lord, and that's not like nobody else. So when you try to put a nation like us inside of another nation, that other nation, they're wicked, they're evil, and that's just their culture. That's just how it is. They didn't have any laws, any rules, or any regulations inside of their culture that prevented you from sexually abusing a child. Muhammad, you have so many of us that buy into that Islam garbage, but Muhammad was a known child abuser, a known child sexual. I'm trying to say it the correct way where they don't flag us or anything, but he married his Aisha was 9 years old, I believe, when he married her, and I think between 9 and 11 when he consummated or had sex with her. Known child abuser, and that's known throughout. You look at all the accounts of the Catholic Church, Catholicism, and I don't care if you Southern Baptist, Pentecostal, Methodist, whatever they decide to call themselves, all those denominations are are all stem from Roman Catholicism. Every last one of them. And I know that's hard to believe because you go into their synagogues and their churches, and it's very bland. Yeah, it's very bland. It's very plaid. It's very basic, and to us, it's not as lively as it is when you go into that Southern Baptist church and they rolling all on the floor and throwing their big hats up in the ground, and you got the sodomite banging on the tambourine, and the music is sounding real good. It doesn't seem like it's the same on the surface, but it's the exact same, just with a couple of minor little changes and fixes here. That's all. It's kind of like potato salad got the raisins in it, and ours don't. That's the difference. You go into that Catholic church, you got raisins in the potato salad. You go into that Baptist church, there's no raisins, it's a lot of salt, and it tastes good. That's it. But it's still all the same poison. It's still all the same poison that they're feeding you. And any religion that you serve, any religion you serve is gonna teach you to be subservient to that race. If you are in Islam, you're gonna serve a Arab God. You're gonna serve an Arab God with Arab culture, the Arab heritage. So pedophilia, again, that's not a big thing in their culture. That's not illegal in their culture. In their law, you can strike your woman. And I don't know the exact surah, but in the Quran, it says you can strike your woman, your wife, if she doesn't submit or do what you say do, or that's an actual form of punishment in their law. That's not in our law. We're not allowed to do each other like that in our law. So their laws, their laws, in their evilness, their wickedness, it's part of their culture. It's who they are. Just like part of our culture, who we are, was to follow the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. But over time, they've eroded that now, and they blended it. They made us think that we should be following Christianity. We should follow Islam, not realizing those are following false idols. Those are following other gods. And when you follow other gods, you're going to do their bidding. Christ is a known, the picture, that picture of that Caesar Borgia, that picture of that blonde head, blue-eyed Christ that we grew up seeing. That's that. His name is Caesar Borgia. Caesar Borgia, who killed his brother to get the throne, slept with his sister Lucretia, was a known sodomite. So it's not, once you know that he's a sodomite, it's not so hard to fathom or realize why it's so much sexual deviancy inside the Christian church, why so much child abuse inside the Christian church, when this is what their God is. This is the idol that you worship, that you follow. That's what they're all about. So that's what you see. Eddie Long was known. The boy that had became men had started to come out and tell on him, and he didn't lose one parishioner. They were still going by the droves. And even though he shriveled up and was looking like a black skeleton at some point, nobody would say or come out and believe that this was wrong, this was against God. We've been taught that there's no punishment for the things that we do. There's no consequences for it. We've been taught that there's no law. And let's be honest, who wants to live in a world where there is no law? Nobody wants to live in a world where there is no kind of law. Only this oppressor. Only this oppressor does that, and he's tricked us. He's manipulated us to believe and buy into that same philosophy over time. And that's where we find ourselves at now. Yahweh Shema Lathan Ba'Shem Yahweh Shah, Sister Anna in the building. Sister Raya says Southern Bastard. Exactly. Southern Bad, they got all kinds of Southern Bad. They got all kinds of different denominations, and it's all the same garbage, though. It's all the same garbage. And again, the Bible was not a religious book. That's a family heirloom. That's our records, our history records from generations over generation, thousands of years of our history records passed down. We started the tradition of writing down our records. Even in that African garbage, they had an oral history. That wasn't our history. That's not us. That we are not Africans. That wasn't our customs. We wrote our records down to pass those records down. We had instructions on how to live, how to take care of each other, how to treat one another in business, in agriculture, and in daily life, and how to handle disputes, how to handle marriage, how to treat marriage, all these things that should and should not be done. The consequences of them when you do them, when you don't do them. The consequences of what happened when you follow the Lord, the reward, the blessings, and the curses that will follow if you didn't follow the Lord. We knew all of this. This is not the other nation's culture. This is not their culture. This is not who they are. And this is why we act and conduct ourselves the way that we do now, by following them. All right, so again, we brotherhood and sisterhood are the same. If you had to substitute brotherhood and sisterhood with a word, what we are lacking the most within our community, with amongst one another, what would that word be? And if you know the precept, go ahead and drop the precept in there. We're gonna go ahead and pull that up as well. Brotherhood and sisterhood. Sister Raya is on it. She's on it. And it's going to be love. Brotherhood and sisterhood are the same as love. And again, we can't go off what we consider love. We got to go off what the Most High tells us love is. We can't go off of our own definition of what we think love is, because everybody can say they love you. Sister Coco says love. Also, Matazah Kara says love. 1 John 5:3. Anybody can say that they love you. That's just like I can say, I'm going to give you $1 billion. I ain't got $1 billion to give nobody, but I can say that. It sounds good. It sounds good. You can change your life, quit your job if you want to, waiting on it. You might be stuck after that. You know what I'm saying? You might be stuck after that, but those are just words. And when we read this Bible, we read the instructions that the Lord gave us, the definition of the knowledge that the Lord gave us. We know that love is not just a word. In the Bible, it says the love indeed. I think that's in Romans. It says the love indeed. Indeed, that's an action. That's something that you have to do. So love is an action word. Yeah, it's action that goes behind that. You can't just say that you love nobody. You can't just say that you love nobody. You actually have to do something to show that love. So when we so let's go ahead and pull that precept up. 1 John 5:3. 1 John 5:3. Go ahead and get that up real quick. And again, last night we had Officer Matazar Karai's class and did my heart some good, because when he was going over love, going over the commandments and so forth, y'all know it. Y'all know what love is. And just in that simple knowledge right there, just because of that knowledge and that wisdom that you got right there, that's going to protect you. That's going to make you stronger when you are bombarded with the lies. When you hit with the different lies, or well, let me hit the change that real quick. Okay, there you go. That's going to protect you against the different lies of somebody else's different definition of their own administration of love, because you know what true love is. You know what love is. My rib said love. So again, us knowing what love is, we know what to look for now. If we don't know what love is, we don't know what to look for. If we don't know what love is, we think love is Valentine's Day. We think it's a Valentine's Day card. If we don't know what love is, if we don't teach our children what love is, they're gonna think love is getting some Christmas gifts at the end of the year. They're gonna think they're bound down to that tree, singing to that tree, worshiping that idol, worshiping that idol, those ornaments on that tree, decking that tree with silver and gold, even though that tree belongs outside, doing everything that the Bible tells us not to do. They're gonna feel like that's love, even though the Bible, the Lord told us not to do that. And that's the worship of another God. That's the worship of Nimrod, African. Not that we're not, that's the worship of another God. So by us teaching them teaching them to celebrate Christmas, teaching them to celebrate Valentine's Day, teaching them to celebrate their birthday, teaching them to celebrate their birthdays and all those things, we're not teaching them the love of God. We're teaching them hate and don't even realize it. We call it love. We say it's love, but it has nothing whatsoever to do with love. And how we know right here, because in 1 John 5:3, it says, for this is the love of God, that we keep his commandments. And his commandments are not grievous. That word grievous means his commandments are not hard. So like we always do, go ahead and drop me in the comment section. Let's give me a couple of those commandments we got in the comment section. Who could tell me some of those commandments? What are some of the commandments we're supposed to keep? Because just like we have our own, in the world, they have their own definition of love. And at church, they got their own definition of love. And at mosque, they got their own definition of love. They also have their own definition of what commandments you're supposed to follow. The only commandment that they follow in their church is going to be to put that money in that basket. And Sister Raya said, she said tithing. And that's the only law that they recognize in that Christian church. They're going to recognize that law, which shows you just how incomplete that thought path is. It shows you just how much of a slave mentality that is. Even though it says laws, it says statutes, it says commandments, all those things being plural, you will tell the slave you have one law you need to follow, and that's to pay these tithes. That's it. The slave is going to believe that because the slave listens to the slave master. They're not going to read for themselves. Free man going to read for itself. They're not going to make that determination for themselves. They're going to take what the slave master say. They're going to run with it, be it right, wrong, or indifferent. And they're going to go from there. And even if it penalizes them or they lose their lives behind it, if they suffer as a result of it, they still going to love their slave master at the end of the day. This is what Christianity teaches you. And that's not what the Lord said. So tithing is a very important one. And those tithes should go to the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. Those tithes should be coming straight to Commander General Yohana so we can build this nation up like the Lord planned so. They should be coming to the priests and the prophets of the Lord. Not your Creflo dollars, not your TD Jakes, not your Eddie Longs, not your Joel Osteens, not your Emas, not your Farrakhan's, none of them. Not your local charity organization that you like, the Salvation, Salvation Army or Goodwill or so forth. Did you know those CEOs of Salvation Army and Goodwill, even though those are quote unquote non-profit organizations, those CEOs, those presidents make 9-figure salaries? Can you imagine that? Think about it. Goodwill gets stuff for free. They get stuff for free. You take it and you donate it to them out the goodness of your heart. You donate it to them out the goodness of your heart. They take it in there. Only thing they wash it up half the time. Slap a price tag on it. They turn around and they sell it. And that CEO is making millions and millions and millions of dollars every year off the kindness and the goodness of your heart. This is America. This is the other religions. This is following these other gods. This is what happens when you tithe in the wrong places. Those tithes are supposed to be coming to the Israelite School, Universal Practical Knowledge. My rib said getting paid millions every year. Exactly. Every year. Every year. You look at a majority, if not all of our problems stem from economic oppression. Economic oppression in our neighborhoods. You wouldn't have any drug dealers. You wouldn't have any crime in our neighborhoods if you had the wealth that we're supposed to have there. We had the economic prowess, the economic power that we should have from all the money that we spend, we generate. All the money that we generate and we spend, we give away right back to the oppressor. You tax for this, you tax for that, you tax for everything. Then you tax on top of the taxes that you already paid tax on. That's oppression and that's slavery. That's oppression, that's slavery, but you don't realize it because we've always been in slavery, and we accept what the slave master gives us as freedom, even though it's not freedom. We accept what the slave master gives us as justice, even though it's not justice, and it's not what the Lord say. Just like we accept love the way that what the slave master and love the way the slave master says and defines, and not the way that the Lord defines. Sister Raya says, then we get our little tax write-offs. So exactly, they give you this little bit of stuff that you can write off, which is only a certain amount that you can get at the end of the year. But they're going to get that money. They get paid millions of dollars a year. They get to ride around, live in the best neighborhoods. They don't even live in the neighborhoods you live in. So that money doesn't even go back to it doesn't even go back to the neighborhood in that facet, that form. And it's a hustle. It's a hustle. It's a ripoff. And again, that tithing, that money is supposed to come in to build and save the nation. With all the money that the churches have collected over time, should nobody be poor? We shouldn't be worried about housing and where we're going to stay at and how we're going to eat. We shouldn't be, but we are, because we are slaves to this system. You go to your slavery. We call your job your slavery here. My job here in the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge is to get this word out, is to be priests and prophets of the Lord, like the Lord said. But that slavery that you got to go to, because if you don't, you won't eat here. That slavery that you got to go to, that's to keep you in servitude here. You go to work so you can go to work. You go to work so you can go to work. If you have a young child, you'll pay more in doggone child care than you'll pay just as much in child care as you're paying for a quote unquote car note, or for your mortgage, or for your rent. That's a hustle. That's a hustle. And what it does is it keeps you continually, just like a hamster you see on that wheel, or a guinea pig you see chasing run around that wheel and never going anywhere. It's the same thing it does to us. The only thing different, we're actually going backwards. We're going backwards. Sister Raya said facts. And again, so that tithing is supposed to go to the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. It's supposed to go to the ones that's going to take care of the nation, that's going to put our nation first, that's going to put and prefer each other, that's going to prefer Blacks, Latinos, and Native Indians, and not everybody else like everybody else does. You think about civil rights. This is kind of a side note, but you think about civil rights. I heard this today and it made so much sense because I had never really thought about it that way. You think about civil rights and how civil rights came about in what, 64, 63, 64, 65, in that era. You had different stages of it. Well, after civil rights, the other nations, they benefited from it. Wasn't no Asians over here before that. It wasn't no Afghanis or Ukrainians or none of them over here like Iranians or none of them like that over here like that. They weren't allowed over here like that. But after the Civil Rights Bill, they were. Then they were able to East Indians, and so they were able to come over here, open up businesses and so forth. So they're able to open up businesses. They're able to prosper. They're able to pass that wealth, that legacy down to their children. They're able to send. When you go to these different colleges and so forth, all you see is oppressors' kids, other heathen kids. They send their children off to school. They live in apartments bigger than most of our houses that we live in, with amenities where we don't have any wash machine. We got to go to the local laundromat to wash our clothes. They have all these different amenities inside their own apartments or condos or whatever you want to call it, all as a result of the civil rights being passed. Well, if they didn't come over into the country until 1960, that if they didn't come in, if we didn't get civil rights until the 60s, mid 60s, prior to that, we were the only ones doing the work. We were the ones that was getting unalived. We were the ones that was getting lynched. We were the ones that were being sexually exploited. We were the ones that was being assaulted. We were the ones that by the hundreds of millions they had unalived and taken out and tortured and just decimated as a people. Civil rights was supposed to be a reward. I want to kind of say a reward for that, or at least a penance for that. But everybody else take advantage of it, but not you. That's what happens when you serve another God. That's what happens when you serve this country. So everything that we fought for, everything that we do, we fought for, everybody else benefits off of it, not us. See, the Most High knew this in his wisdom. He knew this in his wisdom. Our strength, our wisdom comes from us following the law, statutes, and commandments, because within the law, statutes, and commandments, we have a natural protection from all of those types of things. We know to build our nation. We know to protect our nation. We know to keep, in order to build and protect our nations, we got to keep everybody else out. We know the separation, which is built into our law, is necessary and needed. And it's 100% one of your first lines of defense. You see agents all over the place. When you go to those oppressive neighborhoods, when you go to Esau's neighborhoods, you don't see them there. You might see a couple of them, but you're not gonna see them like you see them at night. You're not gonna see none of their stores in there. They would rather give them their own neighborhoods as opposed to have them open up Chinese store or chicken fried rice in their neighborhoods. Not gonna have that. But they're more than welcome to come in ours. Matter of fact, we welcome them with open arms in our neighborhoods, and we don't even realize the detriment that is. We don't realize how that destroys us as a people over time, how that drains and takes the resources out of our neighborhoods, how our youth coming up, our young men who they always complain about that don't work, that don't do this and don't do that, and just be in crime and out of kill boys and so forth. Well, if we had our own stores and businesses to give them jobs in, or maybe they wouldn't be out there doing the things that they're doing. And again, that's not to excuse it. That's not to say that it's right, but that is shining a light on it and giving you all sides of it, so we can start to look at things objectively, look at things the way that they really truly are. No, nobody got there and hustle just for the fun of hustling. Hustling come with being unalive. Hustling come with being incarcerated. Nobody does that just to be doing that. But I digress. My rib says, honor thy brother. Honor thy brother. I think that's very similar to what everybody else. To Officer Mataz Akra saying is love your brother, your people as you love yourself. And that's what we're supposed to do. And we just don't do that anymore. Sister Raya says, love thy neighbors. Love your brother. Your neighbor is your brother. We've been taught that our neighbor is the person that lives next door to you. And that's just not true. Your neighbor is your brother. So what all of you are saying is absolutely correct. We're supposed to love one another like we love ourselves. We're supposed to honor one another like we honor ourselves. And that love is keeping these commandments. See, if I love you, if I love my brother, I'm not going to allow anything to hurt him because I don't want anything to hurt me. I'm not going to allow anything to hurt his children because I don't want anything to hurt my children. And that's going to kind of get us to our topic of the class today. The title of the class today is 34 counts of adultery. 34 counts of adultery. So I thank y'all for putting those commandments in there. Now, one of them that we did leave out is adultery. And it is a cover. It's over 622 some laws in the Bible that we're supposed to follow. And one of those is adultery. And that's the title of our class tonight is 34 counts of adultery. So first off, what is adultery? Who knows what adultery is? If you can sum up what adultery is, go ahead and type that in the chat. What's adultery? Who can tell me what adultery is? What's adultery? What's another way to say to say adultery? Now, Stephen Baldwin said, "Don't steal. We're not supposed to steal from one another." And he also said adultery. So now we're asking, what is adultery? If you can define what adultery is, Stephen Baldwin, or anybody else in the class, what's adultery? Who can tell me what adultery is? What's a good definition for adultery? Because again, listening to these other people, listening to Amerikkka, listen to your Christian church, they're gonna tell you that adultery is something totally different than what the Bible says. Matter of fact, that Christian church, if I'm not mistaken, they're going to tell you that adultery is you getting a piece of paper, or getting a piece of paper from the slave master, a permission slip from the slave master saying that you and another person can be married now, quote unquote married now. And now, if that man sleeps with another woman, that's adultery. That's what they're going to tell you. They're going to tell you if that woman sleeps with another man, but then that's adultery. And that's not the truth. That's not how the Lord defines adultery. So Sister Coco said sex outside of marriage. And then I like how you put it the second time, unlawful sex. There you go, sister. Unlawful sex. Unlawful sex is what adultery is. Officer Mataza Akara says a sister having sex with anyone other than her husband. And that's correct. And and a brother having sex with another man's wife. We have multiple wives in the Bible. We always have had multiple wives in the Bible. But that woman, she had one husband, and when she was with that one husband, that she can't go from that man to another man to another man to another man. She's not supposed to do that. That's against our law. And that husband, he can't leave her. Even if he does decide to get another wife, another responsibility, another soul or life that he's responsible for, because he's supposed to be the head. If he can't get another wife and then leave that other one, like this place teaches us. See, America teaches you that adultery is okay. As long as you leave and you cancel that first permission slip, you tear that piece of that permission slip up, you can leave and go to whoever you want. If you're not happy, then you can leave and go, and you can take that somewhere else. You can leave and you can go marry another person. And they teach you that this is legal here in America, and that is not what the Lord says. Stephen Baldwin says fornication, and again, that all goes back to what Sister Coco was saying, unlawful sex. Sister Anna says a man sleeping with another man's wife, and y'all are absolutely correct. But the church doesn't teach it like that. This country doesn't teach it like that. This country teaches you can be just as adulterous as you want, as long as you do it the way that they say do it. As long as you get that piece of paper, you can do it however you want to. If you're not happy, you can leave. Think about that. If you have children, you've been fortunate enough, or unfortunate enough to have children. You think about a child. And a child, I know my kids had different eating habits. My youngest son ate like I ate. My oldest son would eat anything. So it's easier to curb or make him have a more healthier appetite. He didn't mind the vegetables and broccoli and the green things that are supposed to be good for you. Well, my youngest son wasn't like that. He was more like me. If it wasn't sweet, or he select one of his select options that he liked, he didn't want to eat it, and that made him happy. So you think about that whole narrative of if you're not happy, you can leave. That would be like my child saying, "Well, cookies make me happy. So if I'm not eating cookies and I'm not happy, I'm not gonna eat." That's absolutely ridiculous. That's absolutely silly. That's absolutely a childish way of thinking, and they've taught us to do the same thing with our marriage. They've taught us that you can lay down with somebody, have sex with somebody, make a baby with somebody, because sex equals babies. You can make a baby with somebody, and it's not serious, it's not for real until you go in front of the slave master, get a piece of paper, y'all both sign it, and now it's serious. Now y'all can't leave each other until without further steps. You can't leave each other now. The Lord doesn't say that. And the Bible teaches us that sex is marriage. Sex is marriage. But just like we have our own definition of love in the world, we have our own definition of what adultery is in the world. And also Mataza Akara is absolutely correct. He says unhappiness has destroyed so many families in our community. It has, because we actually think that that's important. And it's such a childish thought process. When we get out there and we hustle or we steal and rob, you think about the kill boys out there taking people's cars. They might be unhappy with their living circumstances. So I'm going to penalize my neighbor next door that I see getting up going to work same time my mama going to work. I'm going to take their car. I'm going to destroy my neighborhood, my community, all because I'm unhappy. It's a very selfish and childish thought process, a way to live our lives trying to pursue happiness all the time. It makes no sense, really. In reality, it makes no sense. When you think about, we'll take it back just to having a child again. When you take, it's a lot of sacrifice that's involved with having a child. It's a lot of nights when you don't get to go to sleep. Even though you just got off work, you can't go to sleep because the child ain't sleeping. So now you got to stay up with them and figure out what's going on with them, what's wrong with them. It's a lot of sacrifice with them. You got to, as when they little, I used to couldn't stand peas and certain things, but you feeding them, you got to taste it yourself to make sure it's not too hot or make sure it's right before you give it to them. It's not about being happy. You can't go out and do all the things that you want to do because now you are you're going to sacrifice that happiness for their welfare, their well-being. You look at it, if you're trying to pursue being a doctor and you got to go to med school. Well, if you got to go to med school, you got to go to a doctor where your curriculum, your school, your career path is going to be longer than just 12 years of school. So when all your friends hit their senior year in high school, they might go to a college where it's party. But for you, your 12 years really just starts all over again. So you're going to miss a lot of parties. You're going to miss a lot of time. You're going to miss a lot of that because you're pursuing something greater. You're going to miss out on a lot of that happiness. And that's real life. That's love. That's sacrifice. But we're taught the opposite. We're taught that love is pursuing happiness. And it has, like Officer Mataza Akara said, it has destroyed us as a people. So with everybody's definitions, give me the definition of what adultery is. Who's familiar with the title of the class? Who's familiar with that story? 34 counts of adultery. Who knows what I'm talking about? What reference I'm making? And if you do, you can just go ahead and type the name of the person that we're talking about, or you can just type a 1 if you're just familiar with it. And then we're going to get to these scriptures and pull this up, and we're going to show how that's not love. That's following these other nations, oppressors. That's following their definitions and what they've told us. And even though it's not conducive to our neighborhood, even though it's not beneficial to our community, even if it's not, if it destroys us, and the Bible tells us how it was going to destroy us, we still continue to follow it. And we follow it with a smile. So Sister Raya says, unfortunately, 1. So she's familiar with it. Officer Mataza Akara said, 1. Shannon Sharp down every drink on the table. Yeah, he down every drink on the table, but I think that was more theatrics than anything. More theatrics than anything. But yeah, he was tossing them back. But he had her on the show for an interview. He knew her track record before she got on that. He probably was vying to be number 36, or in my opinion, 360 or 3,600. Because if you do the math, ain't no way in the world it was just 35. Hey, I'm just saying, ain't no way in the world she's stuck on 35 when at one point of the interview, she said she hit 3. She was married 3 times in a 24-hour time span. She committed adultery 3 times in a 24-hour time span. Think about that now. Officer Mataza Akara said, "Oh, it was all cap, but it was funny." And it was, because he was tossing them shots back. He was tossing it back, and it was funny, but it was also sad to watch. It's sad to watch because when we see things through a different lens. Being in the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge and being privy to the truth, knowing the truth, your eyes started to open up. I heard one brother, I think it was Officer Kazak Ahmad, say it's kind of like looking through things. You've been colorblind your whole life, so all you see is just one shade. You see shades of gray, black, white, black, gray, dark, black, and so forth. And then you put these glasses on, and now you can see, or now you can see in color. It changes how you see everything. So it was a little funny. It did. It was. You can even get upset, and you can say she's a whore. I'm pretty sure I can still say that. That's a biblical word. She's this, she's that. She's very promiscuous. But for us, we see all sides of it. We see that's what brothers done left. That 34 brothers done threw away. Didn't want to be with her no more. Maybe she wouldn't be as bad off as she is. That's you see the pain. Even though she got a smile on, and I think she was going to look. I'm pretty sure. I seen a little druggish behavior as well, because she's a little animated and amped. And I know a lot of it is just a defense mechanism. You can see the pain in the things that she says, because regardless of how she puts a banner on it and flags, and now this is good, even in her own responses, she contradicts herself. She doesn't believe that herself. She doesn't believe it herself. In a lot of cases, a lot of situations like that, our women have been abused. They've been abused at some point in their life, maybe through that doggone church, or somebody else in their family members that was in that church who thought that this was okay. The Lord knows my heart. And as a result, these are the defenses that we get. Those are the defenses that we develop fighting that. And we just call it good, even though it's not good. We call it happy, even though we hurting the whole time. So you kind of see all of it. So for me, when I watch it, it sends you through a barrage of different emotions. You know what I'm saying? You're shocked at first by hearing what she's saying, because she's so casual with it. And then it gets kind of funny because she's animated. He's animated. He tossing shots back. But then you get kind of sad and you feel sorry for her, because only if she knew the truth. Only if she knew the truth. Only if she knew that she can come into the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, and she could truly be reborn again. Be reborn again, and she would find a brother that she would never have to go up again another number. She wouldn't have to slide that slide no more. She'd be stuck on that number she had, and she would be actually truly loved the way the Most High says love. And unfortunately, a lot of our brothers and our sisters don't know it. A lot of our brothers don't even realize the damage that they're doing. A lot of our sisters don't realize the damage that they're doing. But we're going to get into it a little bit tonight, just to kind of highlight it so that we know. So that we know, and we know how to identify it. And again, we know how to help and reprove one another. Sister Ryan said exactly. It's always different. I prefer to be around y'all. I prefer to be around my family. And when I say my family, I'm talking about my other brothers and my Akwafium, and the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. Reason being, it's a different understanding, a different wisdom, different lens that we see. So when things that I see, y'all see them as well. Other people in the world, they can't see it. They can't see it. They're oblivious to it. They are such good slaves. They are such good slaves. They love this place. It's like those old shows. You're beating them and beating them. Masochist mentality. Give me more, hit me more, beat me more, beat me more, beat me more, and they like it and they love it. And here we pray for the Lord to bring His judgment down on this place. We pray for true freedom and for true justice. So y'all familiar with it? Y'all seen it? What are some of the ramifications? So before I pull this scripture up, what are some of the ramifications behind having 35 bodies? Oh, and I'm sorry for the ones who didn't respond and maybe have not seen it. There was an interview on Shannon Sharp's show of the lady Brittany Renner, and from what I hear, she just an Instagram. She's social media famous. So social media famous. If you have any social media accounts, it could be a story or a short or reel or whatever. It could be about something very serious and detrimental to the community and so forth. And it might have 100 views. It can be another shot, woman, G-string, her behind. It's gonna have 10 million views off top. It's gonna get 10 million. Social media famous. So this is how I think she got her claim to fame, how she got her rise, how she got her notice and so forth, and what people know her as. But in this interview, they're having an interview. And while she's having this interview, she tells him that she's got 35 bodies. 35 bodies. 3 of them she caught in 24-hour time span. Shannon Sharp started throwing the shots back. He's saying, well, what do you think? How you think people gonna feel about that? How they gonna respond and so forth? Her respond, she don't give a F. She don't care, whatever. She known, she famous for doing this, for doing that. So can't nobody tell her no right, no wrong. Which is what you hear throughout a lot of our media, through a lot of our the churches and so forth. You hear that, and again. No shame whatsoever. Even though the Bible calls for our woman to be shamefaced, no shame whatsoever. No stigma whatsoever attached to it. And she's proud. She on that. She was portraying herself to be proud of those 35 bodies. So that's what I'm referring to when I say 34 counts of adultery in the title, and that's what we're referring to as far as the story. My rib said she had a baby with a basketball player. So she was married to a basketball player, had a baby, and I guess left him or he left her or so forth. My rib also says she's still in shock. She don't even know 35 people. And again, for a lot of our sisters, it's like that. I always like to think about, though, it changes as time went on. As time goes on, the longer we're around the suppressor, the more influence that they have over us. So at one point in time, our women weren't going from man to man to man to man like that. At one point in time, we were number one for marriages. We were number one for households with mothers and fathers, married, staying together, and so forth. Number one. When I say number one, I'm not just saying that just to be saying it. I mean, we were literally number one in that stat for that, and now we're at the bottom. Now, so things have definitely changed over time. All coming about with civil rights, and then coming about with us being integrated with the rest of them. So we started to pick up their ways, their customs, their habits, and then with the female liberation. So now you can it wasn't the dogma or the stigma behind you being with just before you would want to be with that man and you would stay with that man. Now you can be with this man and this man and that man and that man, and over time it's just become cool and it's just a casual thing, and sex just doesn't mean anything here. Sex is no big deal. Sex is no big deal whatsoever. It's a rite of passage for the children, no matter how old you is, no matter how many bodies you rack up over the years. It's no big deal. It's no big deal. It's no big deal. And slowly but surely, it even went from you may have been a woman of the night, harlot, or so forth. You would, at the very least, have to carry that title. Now you don't even have to carry that title no more. Sister Raya says it, sums it up. We have more respect for each other and ourselves in the home of the truth. Exactly. We have more respect for ourselves here. We're taught to, and that's because we're taught to actually love one another here. Out in the world, their definition of love is I took her out to eat, got her some lobster, some crab before she gave her body to me. I flew out to Jamaica or whatever before she gave her body to me, before I threw her away. Her definition is he bought me some breasts, he bought me a behind, but I got this from him, I got that from him before I gave my body to. And so it's like we are proud of the whoredom, we're proud of whoremongering, and we don't respect one another. We don't even realize we don't even respect ourselves out in the world, and we don't realize what that really is. So again, and here you're gonna learn what love truly is. We truly do love our wives. Love hurts. Love hurts. Love is sacrifice. Love is even though they getting on my damn nerve, I can't go nowhere. I'm not going nowhere. I wouldn't go nowhere. I always love how the brothers over me, when they explain it, the generals, the officers, the captains, and so forth, and they explain it. If it's really like a child, your child will make you unhappy. Your child will do things that's unbecoming to being your child. You'll be wondering, where in the hell did this child come from? Where did he or she learn this at? Who is this child that had that done came and replaced their body? Because I know I didn't teach them to do the things that they're doing, and they would make you very, very unhappy through the course of a lifetime. But you just don't abandon them. You don't leave them. You don't throw them away. That's love. We're supposed to love our husband, our wives the same way. And we're gonna get into that a little bit tonight. So again, what are some of the ramifications? What's some of the things that can happen behind a woman racking up 35 bodies? What's some of the things that can happen behind 34 men, 35 brothers throwing a sister away? What are some of the ramifications from that? What's the detriment of that? What's the result of that? What's the result of 35 bodies? And again, I do not believe. I know basic math. And if one day is 3, and let's just be generous. Let's just say 15 days. Let's say 15 days out the month. That's not including a woman being on her cycle or so forth. As a matter of fact, we'll just say 10. We'll be real modest. We'll say 10 days where she can be active. 10 days times 3 is 30 right there. That's just 1 month. She at least 30 some years old. So I do not believe that 35 number whatsoever. Sister Raya says STDs. And guess who number one in STDs? Guess who number one in STDs? Us. Blacks, Native Indians, Latino brothers and sisters. We are number one in STDs. Men fighting over her. Exactly. Our neighborhoods filled with crime. You, if I'm not mistaken, when you think about the Bloods and the Crips, I think Tookie Williams and another brother that was fighting over the same bride, same woman. And this is where a lot of your violence starts at. It starts from in the neighborhoods. A lot of your jealousy, your envy, your hatred. Brother Stephen Baldwin said she just nasty, and it is, and that gets to the STDs and so forth. My rib said us. You want to explain a little bit on that? When you say us, you just mean this the detriment of us altogether, or just give me a little bit more on us. Just give me a little bit more on us. But again, all these are things that are a result of 35 bodies, 35 men throwing her away, her being with 35 different men. Those are the results of it. We don't even realize that that's a snowball effect. That just keeps going and going. Once there's violence in the hood, with us, that normally ends with somebody being unalive. If that brother or sister is unalive, who take care of the kids? So now the child comes up, and now the child has to deal with the ramifications of not having a parent, not having a mother or father. They're raised by the system. So now there's no protection from them being abused, taking advantage of them. Okay, my rib says us with high STD. Exactly. Yeah, we're number one. We're number one for STD. Matter of fact, we're number one for AIDS. We're number one for AIDS. We're number one also. What's another one? So it's one of them I haven't even seen. Nobody said it yet. It's another one that we're number one in as well. The results of us breaking the Lord's laws are right there in front of us. We just don't. We've been taught not to pay attention to them and not to see them. And Officer Mataza Karaj right there on it. We number one for abortions, single family homes, and possibly abortions. You are absolutely correct on both of those. We're number one for single parent homes, and we're also number one for abortions. As a matter of fact, see if right here it says the percentage of single parent homes by race: 64% African American, 52% Indian, 42% Hispanic, and then way at the bottom, the oppressor, 19.7%. So you are absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. Number one, single parent home. If you look at that single parent home stat, you got a 70 to 80% more chance of being incarcerated, being growing up in poverty. All this based off it being a single parent home. All of it. And we don't realize the detriment of it. We'll brag about 35 bodies. We'll brag about going through and throwing away 35 sisters. You also said abortion. We are number one for abortion, not number two, not number three, but number one. And when you know the history of it, when you know the history of abortion and how that was and Planned Parenthood was eugenics. Planned Parenthood was designed to get rid of Black, Latino, and Native Indian babies. And now we're number one for it. We pay for our own demise. So it says more than crime, more than accidents, more than cancer, heart disease, and AIDS, even though we're number one in all of those. Maybe not the accidents, but we're number one in all the other ones. Abortion has taken more American lives or Black lives than every other cause of death combined since 1973. The abortion rate for Black women is more than 3 times that of white women. On average, more than 900 Black babies are aborted every day in our country. 1,000 babies every day. You do the math on that right there real quick. 365,000. It's been higher than that in some years, 400, 450. So you're talking about down there half a billion, right? Yeah, 500 million souls. Am I doing it right? No, 500,000. I'm sorry, half a million souls every year. Between 300 and 500,000 babies every year that we unalive. And you can call it what you want. Abortion is, I think I can say, I'll just say unaliving. Abortion is unaliving. I know they call it a choice. They call it this, but if a woman is in a car accident and she's pregnant and that driver is drunk and he unalives that pregnant woman, he's getting charged with 2 counts of involuntary manslaughter. If he unalived a pregnant woman on purpose by assault or whatever, he's getting charged with 2 counts. But when that woman goes into that clinic and she does it, it's called her choice. It's called her democratic choice. This is her penance. This is her payment for her being a good American. And this is what I say by their wickedness, us not loving, our hatred for one another is integrated into their society, to their culture, and they teach us this over time. They teach us this through the religions. They teach us this through their politics, through their philosophies. Sister Raya says that now they popping those Plan B pills like Tic Tac. Exactly. Yep. Gone. And which it just adds more and more to the body count. Now they don't do nothing for the STDs, don't do nothing for the AIDS, don't do nothing for none of the diseases, which is why we number one in those categories as well. Don't do nothing for the violence. Don't do nothing for the violence while I'm against one another. Nothing for the single parent households. Nothing for none of that. But at the very least, I don't have to pay $300. I don't have to pay more on the front end as far as getting rid of the baby. And if I can get these pills and that's going to take care of for me. This is their culture, but we've adopted it as our own, and we're proud of it. We're proud of it. So I just want to get the scriptures up. Let's go to Leviticus 19. So I appreciate y'all input on that. Those are just some of the ramifications behind us, again, not doing what the Lord told us to do. Those are some of the ramifications behind having 35 bodies on both sides. 35 bodies as a man that you done threw away, or 35 bodies as a woman that you done went from man to man to man to man to man to man. Being a whore or a whoremonger. When I say whoremonger, that's the man wanting, craving, lusting after, supporting and loving these whores. And that's the woman being a whore, going from man to man to man to man to man. This has become part of our culture now, even though the Bible says and the Lord says that it was not going to be accepted in Israel. It's punishable. It's a punishable offense in Israel. But in America, as long as you're happy in America, you do what you want to do. So we're going to go to Leviticus chapter 19 and verse 29. Leviticus 19 and 29. Pull this up real quick. All right. You find a good portion, a good book of our law in Leviticus. And again, everything that we need to okay, here we go. Looking a little funny, but everything that we need, how to live, how to treat one another, how to navigate through this life, through this slavery. The Lord gave us the wisdom to do so, but we abandon the Lord's wisdom for we abandon the Lord's wisdom for this oppressor. We abandon the Lord's wisdom for these other false idols and false gods. So Leviticus 19 and 29 says, "Do not prostitute thy daughter, to cause her to be a whore." And this is what you see when you see your Cardi B's, when you see your Brittany Renners, when you see your Megan Thee Stallion, when you see these fathers that don't have no problem, when you see these fathers going from man to man, woman to woman to woman to woman. So that's twofold. That's not just the woman, that's for mothers and the fathers. Lest the land fall to whoredom. So a lot of the things that y'all listed, the single parent homes, the abortion, the AIDS, the STD rates, the violence, the crime, all of those is what it looks like when the land falls onto whoredom, and the land is falling under whoredom. That's where we're at now. And the land become full of wickedness. That's American 101. That's our neighborhoods 101, full of wickedness, and we are so accustomed and so used to it. We don't even see anything wrong with it. Even though you can look at other neighborhoods and you don't see these same demographics, you don't see these same statistics. We don't realize that that's just us, and we don't realize there's nothing wrong with it being just us. We're content with it. We're happy with it. As long as she can be a millionaire off of showing her behind on Instagram, and she can go from man to man to man and get paid for it. What's wrong with it? What's wrong with it? As long as that man can rack up 35 bodies and he's the man. He his money good. His life is good. What's wrong with it? That selfish individualism that they've taught us is American. That's the oppressor. That's Esau. But we've adopted and taken this as our own. And even here in Leviticus 19, it tells you the ramification, the results of it. What's going to happen if that comes to pass? The land will become full of wickedness. All right, so we're going to stop there. Then I also want to bring up Deuteronomy 23 and 17. All of our laws are contained within the first books of the Bible. When Moses wrote them down, when Moses came back and he wrote those laws down, that's our custom to write our records, our laws, our statutes, our commandments down. And so the Lord told us and gave us the list of things that we're supposed to do and stuff that we're not supposed to do. Because the other nations didn't have these laws. The other nations, it wasn't no big thing for a woman to go from man to man to man to man to man. I always like to bring up the example because it tripped me out so much when I found it out. You look at Leonidas in the 300, Leonidas in the 300, and you watch his movie, and they so strong, they so militant, they some gangsters, right? Well, all of them was alternative lifestyle members. There was 150 pairs of lovers, and if they were all lovers, what do you think their wives were doing when they were gone off fighting and on being together and fighting? What do you think the wives were doing when they were gone? That's always been part of their nature, their culture. And then that's where we get the feminism from. It's from them same woman, that same philosophy. That's where you get your child sexual abuse from. Pederasty. That was all part of their culture. All part of their culture. So for them, this is second nature. This is no big deal for them. But for us, the Lord told us, no, we don't do this. This is what happens to your community when you do this. This is what happens to your nation when you do this. Let's get Deuteronomy 23 and 17. Deuteronomy chapter 23 and 17. There shall be no whore of the daughters of Israel. Our women are princesses. They are the daughters of Israel. And our women are not allowed to be. This is in our law. They are not allowed to go from man to man to man to man. The Lord doesn't allow for us to destroy our neighborhoods and our communities. He doesn't allow for us to destroy our nation. It's built into our law to build our nation, not destroy our nation. So our women are not allowed to be whores. They're not allowed to be. And our men, nor a sodomite of the sons of Israel. We're not allowed to be sodomites. That's American culture. That's Esau's culture. That's these other oppressor cultures. You look at the other gods, the goddess of Shiva, where we get weed and we get dreadlocks from. Where we get the weed and the dreadlocks from. That goddess of Shiva is a man and a woman. That's their culture. When you look at that Baphomet symbol, that's a man and a woman. When you look at the gods of Egypt, they're men and they're women. So that sodomite culture, that whore culture, that's their culture. That's not our culture. But because we follow these other gods, in some way, shape, fashion, or form, we follow these other gods, we follow these other nations, we become just like them. And the only thing that's different now we don't have any shame for it. When you're looking at this interview, she's not shamefaced at all. She pumped up and hit her head like, yeah, I did what you gonna do there. And look, and she got a manly spirit on it even when she's describing it. Proud of it. You ain't finna tell her she know how. And if she is, so be it. So be it. There was an interview with Young Miami, and Young Miami said, yeah, she a whore. The interviewer asked her, what about your daughter? Oh, no. She's not gonna do that. So inherently, they know it's wrong. But this society says there's nothing wrong with it. As long as your money good. As long as your money good. As long as you're happy. Hey, if you're happy, do you. No matter if it destroys your entire community. As long as you're happy, do you. And again, this is not, for us, it's not an option. And so it doesn't just say it one time. This is all throughout the Bible. All throughout the Bible. Why do you think the Lord is telling us these things? The Lord knew what the other nations were about, knew what the other nations did, and knew what we were not supposed to do. He knew what was going to destroy us as a nation. Go to another one, Hebrews. So again, we were in the Old Testament. Now we're going to go to the New Testament. I'm show you the same thing in the New. We're going to go to Hebrews chapter 13 and verse 4. Okay, maybe I ain't pull up Hebrew. I got to pull that one up. So let's do this then. Let's go back to where we were, which is a good way for us to go through the online too. So again, if you're new to the class, you're new to the truth, you want to go ahead and download you a KJV, King James version with the Apocrypha on your phone. That way you always got that word with you. And if you want to go to it just online, you can go right here to this King James Bible online. King James was a black man, King of England, King of Scott. He had the Bible translated, didn't write it himself, wasn't a white guy, wasn't a sodomite. Had it translated because, again, books and all that stuff, our records, royalty had that. The churches had that. The common folks didn't have that. And when that language changed over to the English from the Greek, and before from the Hebrew, he had it translated into the English so that we would be able to read it. We would have access to the word again. So before, you would just have people telling you what the Bible said, which is a very good way to mislead you, just like that Christian church does every Sunday. They'll tell you what the Bible say, but you're not reading it for yourself, so you don't know. So you want to definitely get you a King James 1611 version, which is going to be the closest thing to the translation. And this is what we read back here. So you can go here. I like this little app right here, pulls it up. You can get to any one of them. If it's just a regular, I won't say regular, but just over here, they took out what's called the Apocrypha out the Bible. The Apocrypha, the 14 or so books is in the middle. It contains the Greek captivity. It contains a lot of the historical content. It shows when the tribe of Gad came over here to Ashereth, to the land that nobody had been at, to the quote unquote America. It also shows or teaches you about Alexander the Greek, which in school, if you go to school in the American school system, you learn about Alexander the Great. They don't want to teach you about CRT or critical race theory, but you will learn about Alexander the Great. Well, in the Bible and in the Apocrypha, he's called Alexander the Greek. So this is why a lot of this was pulled out of the Bible. So it's a lot of misconceptions and people don't understand when they hear that. They come across that scripture that says neither Jew nor Greek. We automatically assume in the world, that church, the other religions, they assume that's referring to everybody, and it's not. That's just referring to the Hellenized Jews when we were just like we're in America, but we know that we're Israelites. But we live an American life. Brittany Renner, when she says she got 35 bodies, she's living as an American. She's living as a quote unquote Gentile, which in that period would be a quote unquote Greek, even though she's an Israelite. So that's what that's referring to. And they took that portion out of the Bible. So the KJV standard is going to have, it's not going to have the Apocrypha in it, what's called the Apocrypha, which is in between the quote unquote, and I say quote unquote, Old Testament and quote unquote, New Testament. The Apocrypha is right in between those. The reason why I say quote unquote, no such thing as no Old and no New Testament. It's one book. And it's all together, and it says the same thing. The church likes to lie and say that Christ came about with a new commandment, or a new, I want to say a new covenant. I meant to say come with a new covenant. It's different from the Old Testament. A lot of times we'll talk about these different things in Leviticus about the daughters not being whores, women being modest and listening to the husband. The husband is the head and so forth. And the first thing a Christian's going to tell you, oh, that's the Old Testament. Even though, guess what else is in that Old Testament? Tithing. Tithing is in the Old Testament as well. But they're going to do that part. That part they will do. So again, there's no such thing as no old and no new. The Apocrypha is in between. And if you want to pull any scriptures that's inside of that Apocrypha, you notice this right here goes from your prophets to your right down to Revelations. But if I go to KJV 1611, now when I pull this down, you'll see these different books here. Your first Ezra, second Ezra, Tobit, Judith. These are the books of the Apocrypha, the Maccabees. These are the different books. Ecclesiasticus, Baruch. Baruch tells you that the Bible is a book of the law. So again, the wisdom of Solomon. So again, these are the books that's in between with that historical content in it. So again, it's just a way to kind of go through the app, just so you get a little bit more familiar with the app if you have or have not been using it. But what we want to do is go to Hebrews 13 and 4. Hebrews 13 and 4. We're going to go to the quote unquote New Testament, and we're going to pull the same thing. Now, another difference between that 1611 and that 1611 and the standard version, that 1611 is going to be what's called the King's English. So you'll see where it says right here on this part where it says, keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. That keep has that extra E on the end. That E on the end, because then this is the old, so you will see you won't see any J's in there. You won't see any J's or I's, I want to say as well, because those letters weren't created at that time, which is how you know his name wasn't Jesus. His name was Yahweh in Hebrew, because we didn't get that letter J until about the mid 1600s. Everything in religion is a lie. Everything in religion is a lie, and everything in religion is lies and an illusion to keep you subservient to these other nations and to these other and worshiping their other gods. But what we want to do is go to the stand. We want to get Hebrews 13 and 4. What we got? Hebrews 13 and 4. All right, it should have changed up on the screen. All right, so Hebrews 13 and 4 says marriage, and we know that sex is marriage. Sex is marriage, is honorable in all, in the bed undefiled. But whoremongers and adulterers, God will judge. When you see, or the things that we listed in the beginning of the class, the STDs, the abortion rate, the single parent homes, the violence, the crime, the way that the community is just dismantled behind whoring and whoremongering, how it's dismantled and tore up. Families are destroyed and broken up. Children are left to defend for themselves, not knowing who their father is, and so forth. All of these things come about as a result of the whoring and the whoremongering, but it tells you here, those are the judgments of the Lord. Now, that church will have you thinking that there is no judgment of the Lord. Just be happy. Be happy, pay your tithes. It's all good. The rain falls on the just and the unjust. That's how they try to explain it to you. Slave and slave master are going to be in heaven holding hands together. That's how they explain it to you. But that's not the case. We know in here that the Bible says that a curse does not come without a cause. A curse does not come without a cause. So in order for it to happen, for that to come about, it has to be a cause for it. And the cause is the 35 bodies that she done ran through. And the 35 bodies that her brother done threw away. Threw the woman away after he laid down with him. And as a result, you get the curses, you get the judgment of the Lord. You get the judgment, you get the punishments, you get the results of that. You see it all outside in your communities. You see it in the families and so forth. You see it. It creates and it breeds and it just keeps growing and growing and growing again, that snowball effect. And this is what America wants from us. America has created or wanted us to be the best sinners that there is. And we've stepped up to the plate and we became that. We became the biggest sinners. We became the biggest whores. We become the biggest whoremongers. Our women aren't modest. They aren't shamefaced. And the men, as much as the men complain about the child support, we didn't even speak about the child support. As much as the men complain about that, complain about us not having any power anymore, we are the whoremongers though. We love them. We give them all our money. We'll treat them better than that woman that's covered up, that woman that's taking care of the children, that woman that's going to be there for the whore, that one, or we give all our resources to. And so we feed off of it. We feed off the wickedness and the evilness in our own neighborhood and community. And we don't realize how it's destroying us. It's destroying us as a people. So when she gets up there and she says that 35 bodies and she's proud of that, she may be proud, but the Lord ain't proud of it. She may be proud, but the Lord ain't proud of it. And the contradiction in all of it is so crazy. You can ask any of them, if any of them. I think that's why the Lord always describes us as being children, and He gives you that parent and child relationship. For the ones that's in here, who will be proud of 35 bodies? We'll take a little honest. We'll take a little survey real quick. If you will be proud of your daughter, your son having 35 bodies, put a 1 in the chat. Kana la'a. Matter of fact, you kana la'a. We'll work on our Hebrew a little bit as well. If you will be proud of your child having 35 bodies, kana la'a. Kana, if you'll be proud, la'a, you wouldn't be proud of it. Who will be proud of that? Who will be proud of their child having 35 bodies? Now we were talking about, and as you putting that in, we were talking about the judgment. Again, it says marriage is honorable and all in the bed undefiled, but whoremongers and adulterers God will judge. So we're gonna look at a little bit of that. We're gonna go to Ephesians chapter 5. Now, Ephesians chapter 5 talks about marriage. It specifies, it breaks it all the way down. We're gonna go through a little bit of this. Officer Matazai Karai says, la, and then he came back with it and he said, God forbid, which is hell no. Nah. He said, no. My rib says, la. Who would be proud of that? And it's amazing the things that we do is, again, it just gets back to how that church, this place, the government, the politics, the school system has taught us to not deal with consequence and action, not to think so childishly. If it's not good for my child, how can it be good for me? And vice versa. How can I say I'm proud to have 35 bodies, but I wouldn't want my child to have 35 bodies? What sense does that make? We have it. We've been all taught, and matter of fact, I throw that out there. What does that sound like? What phrase does that sound like that we've heard so much that you always hear growing up? Brother Stephen Baldwin said, "Hell no." While I'm getting ready to pour this other scripture, what phrase does that sound like? It's okay for me, but it's not okay for them. Or what does it sound like? Because it's a very common phrase that we grow up we hearing, and then my rib said, I don't even know 35 people. And again, for her to open up her body to 35 different men with a proud face. And I really think that she only gave that number because she thought that number was an acceptable number. For you to come right back and say, you had 3 in 24 hours, you know that math just don't add up. So I really think she gave that 35 because she thought that was just an acceptable number. And before I can even get the scriptures, also Matazai Karai is right on it. That's exactly what I was thinking of. And my rib said the exact same thing. Do as I say, not as I do. Do as I say, not as I do. What kind of parent are you? What kind of parent are you if you teach your child to do as I say, but not as I do? Don't follow the example that I'm setting. Don't follow the example that I lead. Do as I say and not as I do. And again, all of us have been in the world before, so we may have said and done some of these things, but when you come into this school and you learn the truth, you are able to actually see yourself through the correct lens at this point. You're able to see the shortcomings. You see the fallacies and the things that we say, how it just doesn't make sense. You can tell a child all day long, you can be a drunk, you can be a drug addict, you can say, well, you don't do this, I do it, but that ain't for you. What you think gonna happen to that child? The child's gonna be a drunkard and he's gonna be a drug addict as well. She can get up there with 35 bodies and be just as proud and say, that's for me. Young Miami said that was for her. That's not for her child. Cardi B said she don't even let her child listen to that music. They're going to be big. They're going to be they're going to do the same thing their mothers did. Why? Because they saw their mothers do it. So that whole do as I say, not as I do, what we are taught with, it's just some garbage. I'm right there with you, Sister Ryan. It don't make any sense. It makes no sense whatsoever, but we are all taught that when we grow up. You do as I say, not as I do. You do as I say, not as I do. And you know where we get that from? We get that straight from slavery. Because to me, that sounds just like, even though I beat you, I abuse you, I robbed you, I unalived you, you don't do that. Sounds just like the slave master talking to a slave, don't it? We don't realize just how much we get from this oppressor, because we don't go off of what this word said. We go off what this oppressor says. And that's what we teach our children. And this is why we're in the same situation. This is why we're in the situation that we're in now. Sister Anna says behind closed doors, she probably hates herself. She probably does. Because as much as she thinks it sounds, as much as she portrays and pretends like it don't bother, it don't hurt, we know that that's a result of trauma. Just like when you see the sodomites. That's a result of them being abused at one point in their life. So now your response to being abused is, I'm going to do exactly what the abuser wanted me to do. I'm going to become exactly what the abuser wanted me to become. So you think about that. That man took advantage of that child, that boy, when he was younger. Now this boy is in his adulthood. I'm going to do exactly what the abuser did, what he wanted me to. I'm going to become exactly what he wanted me to become. So when the first man threw her away, Then the second man threw her away. She said, I'm gonna become Salaki. I'm gonna become exactly. Oh, you know how the hell that stops. Salaki. But she says, I'm gonna become exactly what the first. I'm become exactly because they threw me away. Now I'm become that. Now I'm gonna be strong in it. And it's just a front. It's a front. It's a lie. It's not true. Sister Ryan said that was hopefully a cry for help. It probably was a cry for help, but think about crying for help. You got to be able to receive that help. And then who gonna help you? See, so for so long we've been running to that church to help us, and they are the child. They are the, I think I can say molesters. They are the ones that abuse the children, and we'll run to them for help. They are the thieves, and we'll run for them for help. We run to the unalive. We call the police. We call the unalivers for help. We depend on this nation for help. Lamentations 4:17. For our eyes, I've looked for vain help from a nation that cannot or will not save us. They're not going to save us. That church is not going to save you, but you will be saved coming here, or you will go down that path of being saved, or being loved, and learn and get some help here in the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. Because we're going to give you what the Lord says to give you. We're going to love you the way that the Lord says love. So I definitely think it's a cry for help. But unfortunately, you think about this as a child growing up and watching. There was a video I was going to play. Hopefully all of y'all are subscribed to our TikTok, our Instagram, and so forth. I put a video out the other day, yesterday, matter of fact, of a children's birthday party. And they got, I think it was Paw Patrol. Folks dressed up in a little Paw Patrol costume, and they twerking and shaking and doing these explicit dances in front of the little girls at the birthday party. Now, first off, we ain't supposed to be celebrating birthdays to begin with. But you got Paw Patrol, and there's a man that walked up in there, could have been a father. You got the woman in the background clapping and cheering and so forth and so forth. And we're teaching our children to be like this. We're teaching them we're teaching them, and they soaking all this in. So if they see a Brittany Renner, they see a Young Miami, they see Cardi B, they see Megan Thee Stallion, they see all of these things, they're gonna think it's normal. So when somebody comes along and takes advantage of that, they don't have any kind of defense for it, because we didn't teach them. We didn't teach them love, and we didn't love them. We taught them to be happy, and we were trying to be happy. We taught them what Amerikkka taught us. We taught them what the slave master taught us, and that just doesn't work for us. It never has worked for us. It works for the one who taught us that. So we're gonna get into Ephesians 5. We're gonna go to Ephesians 5. Now, Ephesians 5, I think we could actually spend the rest of the class right here in Ephesians 5. I'm gonna pull a couple of them out of it. And we might end up staying right here in Ephesians 5, but it is another one I want to pull for though once we get to a certain precept. So let's go ahead and get that real quick. We're gonna pull up Ephesians 5, and we're gonna start at verse 5. Ephesians 5, verse 5. Now, when you're in these classes, I know we try to pull everything up on screen so that you can see it. It's a very good habit of having your own Bible there with you, of being able to pull it up, navigating and getting to it yourself. Keeping notes so you'll know these things, because you're being taught it for a reason. And I guarantee you will be challenged on it. You will be challenged on it. The Bible calls us to be peculiar. Peculiar is to be strange, to be different, to be set apart, to be holy. Holy means to be set apart. What you'll find is nobody else in the world is like that. Only in this Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge are you trained, are you taught to be the way the Lord wants us to be. So as a result, everybody else in your stratosphere, depending on how wide it is, they're going to challenge you on it, because they follow this oppressor, they follow this nation, they follow the other gods, and they don't follow your God. And as a result, you want to be armored up. You want to be armored up. You want to have a nice little arsenal. You want to know what you're talking about when you're talking about it. You want to know where to go and find these things. First Thessalonians 5:21 says to prove all things, and you want to be able to prove everything that you say when you're speaking about the Lord. You're talking about the Lord. So we're gonna go right here to Ephesians. And again, we've pulled it up in several different places. We can keep on going all throughout the Bible. It's not a mistake. It's not an accident. It's not coincidental that you see it all throughout the Bible. The Lord was always telling us to do the same things. We always end up breaking the same rules. If we want interracially marrying the other nations, following the other gods, doing the exact opposite of what the Lord told us to do. It's always the same thing all throughout Israel since the beginning. Instead of us wanting to be the rulers that we are supposed to be in rulership, like we're supposed to be. We wanted to follow these other nations. That's where you will get a do as I say, not as I do. That's not being a leader. That's not being a leader. That and we have adopted this into our own thought process, our thought philosophy, the way that we raise our children, the way that we conduct ourselves. So when you hear her saying that, I do believe it's a cry for help. But she don't even know how to ask for help. And if you were to give her that help, she's gonna reject that help. She's gonna reject it. So let's get it. Ephesians 5, chapter 5. For this you know, that no whoremonger, and when he's talking about a whoremonger, that's the men that throw the woman away, that create the whores. We created them. Nor unclean person. Being unclean is to be unlawful, to be unclean, nor covet. I always struggle with this word right here. Covetous. I think that's how you pronounce it. We're gonna go to the page. We're gonna go to the Merriam Dictionary in a minute. We'll see how you're supposed to pronounce it. No covetous man who is an idolater to have any inheritance in the kingdom of Christ and of God. Let's read that one again. I muddled my way through that. For this ye know that no whoremonger, no unclean person, no covetous man who is an idolater have any inheritance in the kingdom of Christ and of God. Who knows what that word covetous means? Who knows what that word means? Who knows what that word covetous means? If you know what that word means, go ahead and type it in there in the chat right there. Who knows what that word covetous means? And I'm gonna put a pin in this one, and we're gonna pull up the dictionary real quick. We're gonna pull up this dictionary. We're gonna see what it means as well. Who can tell me what that word covetous means? And well, if it's not in the chat by now, I'm gonna just go ahead. We're gonna go ahead and get on it and get the answer to it. Just for time's sakes. Because you would think covetous just means like envious, just to want something. But it's different than that. It's deeper than that. So when it says no covetous man, it's a reason why it's saying it. Every word in the Bible is a reason why it's there on purpose, and it has a meaning behind it. Just like Christ's color has a meaning behind his race. It's all that is important. Church teaches you that some things just aren't important. Some things are depending on what makes you happy, what you want to accept, what you want to read. And it just doesn't work like that. They teach you to throw out the Old Testament. It's all about the New, even though they both say the exact same thing. If nothing in that word, if nothing in the Bible is not there for a reason. So when it says that, we look at this word covet. Covet have a very specific definition. It says to wish for earnestly. Then when you get to definition 2, it says to desire what belongs to another, inordinately or culpably. And that's where you really get to it. You want something that somebody else has. Not that you want, okay, he got, so let's say we're going to give the example that Officer Mataz Akara got this nice shirt. These nice Hebrew shirts he got, right? And I see it, and I want me a Hebrew shirt too. So me just wanting one is me wanting the shirt, me admiring the shirt. Brother got good taste. His real be making them doggone shirts. I want me one of them shirts too. Me being covetous would be, I want that shirt. For him not to have that shirt, but I want that shirt. You take it off, give me. I want that shirt. So being covetous is wanting something that somebody else has, and we're not supposed to be like that. And then we're gonna keep on reading, and we're gonna see why it says that. We shouldn't be covetous. I shouldn't want another brother's rib, another brother's wife, and another brother shouldn't want my wife. Now, if I want a wife, I want to get a wife, that's one thing. But to say I want to take another brother's wife, that's a whole different level of wickedness. That's a brother that's without his wife now. That's a brother, his kids that's without the mother now. That's a family broke apart. That's a single parent household. That's all the things that we spoke about in the beginning. That's being covetous. And so hopefully you can see the difference between the two. It's a difference between you wanting something and you wanting something of somebody else's. And I have wrote a question right here. See if we got enough time. Who can tell me, because we went through a whole period of Yonder bar, sister, right? Yonder bar. Yeah, because he be being unbrotherly with them shirts. He be being unbrotherly. You know, but nah, Yonder bar, you do some awesome work. And I can't wait till we get to AOK because we're gonna be something to fly as Hebrews in Israel. But again, so being covetous is wanting something of another brothers or something of another sisters, and we're not supposed to be like that. We can't build a nation being like that. But we have been taught to be that way. We've been taught to be that way. Real quick, who can tell me just by thinking, if you can think of a song? I'm gonna do a little experiment real quick. I want you to type in the chat a song about being covetous. And I'm gonna show you just how prevalent it is. I guarantee everybody in here knows, I've heard, grew up listening to some kind of song, some kind of form of covetous, and didn't even realize that's what it was. Who can give me a song? A song, it don't matter if it's an old one. No, you know, you're all good off sometimes. I already know. She does excellent work, and I can't wait. And I know you got me. You always look out for me, and I appreciate y'all for that. The water for that. But who can tell me a song, TV show, preferably a song where it's about being covetous, just so I can make sure everybody understands what being covetous is. And then we're going to go back to the scripture. Who can tell me, give me a song in the chat where it's all about being covetous? Because, see, we grew up with this stuff not even realizing that this is what they were doing to us. We grew up with it not realizing the damage that it was going to cause. We grew up singing it, portraying it, telling our kids it, and it was no big deal. And we didn't realize that that's going to create your Britney Renners. We didn't realize that's going to create your Cardi B's. We didn't realize the damage that we were doing, because again, without the law, statutes, and commandments, we don't have the wisdom that the Lord wants us to have, that He's gave to us. We don't have that wisdom. So I just want to see who can tell me a song where it's about being covetous. And let me get back to that scripture. I was at Ephesians, right? Pull that back up real quick. Tonight is the night. Yep. Oh, she went in the crate. Went to the Betty White. She went in the crate. She went to the Betty White. All right, that's one on. Give me another. And it's crazy because you can go through all genre. And it's, even though music has changed, you don't see too many quote unquote love songs no more, right? But that theme has always been there. It's always been prevalent there. And that's how you know it's there for a reason. It's there to, again, take us away from what this Bible says, what this word says. Who can give me another? I seen I give you one. What's that jump? One of them jumps by Usher. And when I'm saying covetous, I think Usher did a joint where I take your girl or some joint like that. That's being covetous. Tupac, there you go. Officer Mataz Akara. Tupac, Can You Get Away? And his son, she got a man, but he on the phone trying to tell her to come on. Can you get away from him? Break away from him? Being covetous. So even though he can go out, get his own, he don't want his own. He want to take somebody else's. No regard to her household, her man. There you go. Stephen Baldwin said she don't love. There you go. She don't love you like I can love you. You know. So again, all about wanting somebody else's. Now again, brother, you can have multiple wives, but you're supposed to stay with that wife. That's yours forever. But the fact that we want what somebody else has. The fact that in our music, our men are told to take his girl. I got money. Lil Wayne said, your man ain't there. So we've been taught that over and over again, that same theme over and over again. I take your girl over and over again. And we don't see nothing wrong with it. That's easier to see or easier to point out when you get a Britney Renner to get up there and say, well, I had 35 bodies. Well, that's shock value there. But when we hear it in these other places and in these other forms of media, we don't see it. We don't realize it. The oppressor never, ever stops at this war that he's in. Never, ever stops. It's just like the example, war. There you go. My rib said pretty little secret. There you go. But the oppressor never, ever stops at being at war. If you look at the war on drugs never stop. Not on us. Not on who that war was lodged against. Countless of us are locked up for weed, right? Locked up for weed. But Sister Rod said, what you call them? Okay, I got you. Countless of us are locked up for weed, but now weed is legal and they still locked up in jail. That's a war tactic. So even though we think all the war on drugs is over, no, it ain't. It never stopped. He don't never stop. He never stops going to war. So when the whole war, breaking up the families, breaking up the homes, making us whoremongers, making us covetous, I take your girl, that never ever stops. And then when we go from being number one as far as married households with mother and father to now, and I think I showed y'all the stat. Did I show y'all that stat? Then we go into being households where we're at the bottom now, as far as households being together. That's not an accident. That's on purpose, and that's a war tactic. Where is it at? That's a war tactic. Here we go. I think I showed y'all this. Did I show y'all this one? Percentage. Oh, yeah, okay. Now I remember. Once my glasses were falling, I couldn't see it, but yeah, now I do remember it. So again, that's not an accident. That's a war tactic. It's since Sister Raya, she taking it there, going back in the crate. I remember we used to grow up on what's that one? Cheating in the Next Room. It's a couple of them. You know, I mean, there's a lot of them. It's all throughout all our music, all throughout it. And it just changed over time, but it always stayed the same. And that's a war tactic. We don't realize that we are at war with the oppressor. We are at war with our morals, with our values. We are at war between fight or following his laws or following the laws of the Lord. Stephen Baum said on Groove. There you go. Again, and like, you know, it's amazing. You know, as you get older, you'll look at some of these songs and you'll say, well, they harmless compared to some of the music we got now. When you think about a Sexy Red or a Cardi B or a Megan Thee Stallion, them older songs are harmless. No, they're not that harmless. They're not that harmless. Same thing. Same thing, just different tune, just different beat. Exactly same thing. Bobby Womack had one. I mean, but all of them did. All of them did. They all talked about the same thing. And the same way that was a prevalent theme, it's always a prevalent theme in our music now. Same way how drug culture was a prevalent thing, but it's a prevalent thing in our communities now. It's the same thing. It's all a war tactic. It's all on purpose. It's no accident. There's no accident whatsoever. This is exactly what they wanted to do. And we fall for hook, line, and sinker because we don't follow the Most High. Sister Raya says that many we used to sing and didn't really know what we were singing. Exactly. We ain't know. We just know the beat sounded good. Mom and them keep playing it over and over again. I'm gonna play it too. You know, as we get older, and you know, music and stuff like that sticks with you. It sticks with you over time. And so we didn't realize it. We didn't realize what we was teaching the children. We didn't realize what we were teaching ourselves, what we were being taught when it was being played. Sister Ryan said all the R. Kelly. Look, tell me about it. You tell me about all the R. Kelly. R. Kelly made matter of fact, being real, we saw one of them I had never seen before. What's the monologues he went back. Was like a little skit that he did in song. I'll bring it. I'll bring it up next time. I might try to play one of those. When dude was in the car, what was the name of the damn things? Because it's like he kept on doing like back to back to back. It was like almost like a play in musical, like a musical or whatever he had did. But yeah, all his music. Dude sleeping in the closet, hiding from the brother when he get home and so forth. Then found out one of them was sodomite, and so all of this was by design to pull us away from what the Lord says, to make us more covetous. And so now that we don't see anything wrong with being covetous, just like we don't see anything wrong with being a whore or being a whoremonger, but the Lord does, and he always has. In the closet, they're in the closet joint. There you go. Yep, they're in the closet joints. And again, we just don't realize how far we sink into this wickedness, into the land being full of wickedness by us not following the Lord. So again, it says trapped in the closet. There you go. For this, you know that no whoremonger, no unclean person, no covetous man who is an idler have any inheritance in the kingdom. When it says an idolater, that's just being you're following another god, a false idol. That's all it is. And we don't then. That's what those other guys were about. Those other guys were about sodomy. Those other guys were about being whores. Those other guys were about being child abusers and so forth. That's what they were about. That's what they've always been about. So it's no surprise that these are the things that wreck and destroy our community and plague us as a people, as a nation. Now, it's no accident. It's no accident whatsoever. Verse 6, let no man deceive you with vain words. Let no man deceive you with vain words. These words that don't mean anything. God knows my heart. I got a personal relationship with Christ. Sister Raya says, glamorizing and normalizing sin. Exactly. Vain words. Yep. And like that, that's exactly what the music did, the television did, the media did. That's exactly what this place does. Brother Stephen Baum said contagious. There you go. Yeah. Contagious. And I mean, again, you can, and when you really start to really look at it and listen to it and pay attention to it, I'm quick to say what 80-90% of the music is. That's what it is. That's what it's always been. We just didn't realize it. That's what it's always been. We just didn't realize it. That's just like 89% of the music now is about drug culture, doing drugs, selling drugs. And we'll say, oh, that's these young folks. Nah, they got it from somewhere. They got that whole being wicked, being not following the Lord. That's all they're doing. They're just doing it now in their way. That's just what the oppressor wants us to focus on now. Why? Because we already number one in abortion. We already number one in STDs. We already number one in single parent households. He already won that. He won that part of the war. So now it's a new battle. That's all. That's all it is. So yeah. So again, I appreciate all that input. And again, if you start looking at, when you're looking for it, it's amazing the things you find when you start to look for it. So verse 6 says that let no man deceive you. Don't let nobody lie to you with vain words. God knows my heart. Got a personal relationship with Christ. The law don't matter. Christ is God. God loves everybody. Those vain words. Just be happy. The Lord wants you to be happy. All the stuff that doesn't mean anything. For because of these things cometh the wrath of God. This is what the wrath of God comes from following these vain sayings that don't mean anything. Being covetous, being a whores and whoremongers that America wanted us to be. Those that incurs the wrath of God upon the children of disobedience. The church teaches you there's no consequence for you being disobedient. America teaches you there's no consequence of you being disobedient to God's laws, but as long as you follow their laws. And it's none of that is true. America says that you can be a sodomite. Sodomites are one of the most protected class of people in the country. But the Lord says you can't be that. The Lord says as a result of that, you're going to be number one in AIDS. You're going to be number one in STDs. Your men are going to want to be women now. Your women are going to be men now. That's going to increase that single parent household. That's going to break that up even further. So you can keep on following the oppressor if you want to, but the Lord says the wrath of God is going to cometh the wrath of God upon the children of disobedience. So we got to realize it's a consequence behind following these other nations and not following the Lord. What else we got? Let's go, and actually let's go down a little bit because again, Ephesians 5 is a deep one. So I'm gonna get to it. I want to get down to 14. And actually, I want to get down a little bit further to 23. So we're gonna go through. Let's just skip down. What we'll do is when we come back to class, we'll come back and we'll start here at 5. But for right now, I just want to go down to 23. So we're gonna skip down to Ephesians chapter 5, verse 23. Ephesians chapter 5, verse 23. We're getting a little bit close on time, or we are at the time 8:59. We don't want to go too far over. So again, Ephesians chapter 5, verse 23. And actually, now we'll start at 22. Wives, submit yourselves unto your own husbands. We just talked about the music and how the music doesn't support that. It doesn't narrate that. The music tells you to do something different. But here in the Bible, it's telling you that wives submit yourselves unto your own husbands. I watched this clip. This lady is getting married. Black lady is getting married to the black guy. They get to the part where it says submit, obey your husband. She got mute all of a sudden. Her mouth didn't work. So she done already got this fool. She done already got this fool to buy her white dress, and he ain't got the ring. Got on his knees the whole nine. He does all this. Get up here in front of the line pastor. They get to the part where it says obey and submit, and she don't want to say that part. She don't want to say that part, even though it says it right here. So you're quote unquote being married in the church in front of the Lord, but you don't want to do what the Lord says do. And it says, so wives, submit yourselves unto your own husbands as unto the Lord. So what that means is, your for the wives, for the sisters out there, your husband, that's your outer one, that's your Lord. You're supposed to submit yourselves unto your own husband as like he is God on earth. Now, does that mean if he tells you to do something unlawful, you do it? Nope, that's not what that's saying. But he should have the reverence and respect the same as you. It should be like you're listening, like the Lord has telling you to do A, B, and C. And that's what, and that's how you should carry it. That's the respect that he should get. That's the reverence he should get. Why? It tells you right there in verse 23, for the husband is the head of the wife. The husband is the head of the wife, even as Christ is the head of the church. So just like we submit ourselves to Christ, we listen to the law, statutes, and commandments of the Bible, we follow Christ. That wife is supposed to follow the husband in the same way. Now, you'll get that in a narrative that we got here in 2023, a narrative or in the likes of a Brittany Renner, a Megan Thee Stallion, a Cardi B. Don't nobody tell me what to do. I do what I want to do. I can have 35 bodies and it's all good. Well, as a result, you see the results of what happens when that happens. But according to the Bible, the husband is supposed to be the head of the wife. So just like we follow Christ, that wife is supposed to follow their husband as well. As the head of the church, and he is the savior of the body. See, without the head, the body is open to all types of vulnerabilities. There's no protection there. There's no savior there. The Bible says, how do you take a strong man's house without first binding a strong man? Spoil a strong man's good without first binding a strong man. You can't destroy or get to that family, that strong man's goods, without first binding that strong man up. And we are bound in Christianity. We're bound in Islam. We're bound in being whoremongers. We're bound in American culture. We're bound in everything, and we should be wrapped up and bound with these laws, statutes, and commandments, and we're not. And as a result, our families are spoiled. We're number one for abortions. We're number one for STDs, AIDS, violence, kill boys, city girls, you name it, all because that man isn't the head of the house like he should be. The wives don't submit to the husband like they're supposed to, as unto the Lord. So again, for the sisters, that your husband, that's your outer one. It should be con outer one con. And that's just a title of respect. That's it. That's just a title of respect. That's the respect. That's the reverence you're supposed to give your husband. Why? Because that husband's supposed to be faithful to you, just like the Lord is faithful to us. Verse 24, therefore, the church is subject unto Christ, so let the wives be to their own husbands in everything. It shouldn't be where the wife decides she wants to do A, B, and C. She wants to pursue A, B, and C, and that husband should be following her. I always like to give the example if you're driving. Let's say you're driving. Wife goes, nope, we need to turn right. Husband go, I think we're going left right here. It shouldn't be no, I told you to turn right, supposed to turn right. It shouldn't be none of that. It should be cut out right come. Even if that's the wrong direction. Because if that is the wrong direction, damn, baby, you was right. We should turn right. Next time I know, hey, you know what I'm saying? That's the communication. That's how it should be. But that whole 50-50 garbage that they give you in the church, well, both of y'all got your hands on the steering wheel. You both trying to drive the damn car on the steering wheel. You're going to crash the car. There's going to be an accident. It's not going to be good because both of you are pulling. It doesn't work like that. Somebody has to be in charge, and the Lord designated and designed for that man to be the head. Verse 25. Verse 25, husband, love your wife. Now, we already read that love isn't about being happy. Love is about sacrifice. Love is about following the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. So a husband's supposed to love their wives. If we're loving our wives like we're loving ourselves and we're following the law, statutes, and commandments, then it's going to work like it's supposed to be. It's going to be protection in the family. It's going to be stability in that family. It's going to be morality instilled in that family. We'll be sealed and cut off from the covetousness in the world, from the whoring and the whoremongering in the world. We won't be a do as I say. Do as I say, not as I do. No, we'll be able to be the examples for our children like we're supposed to be. We'll be able to build a nation the way that we are supposed to build a nation with standards, with morality, with a code of conduct, with laws, statutes, and commandments. It wouldn't matter what nobody else in the world was doing. Why? Because we would be doing what the Lord said doing. But because we don't, this is what we find ourselves in now, 2023. Husband, love your wife, even as Christ also loved the church and gave himself for it. See, we got to realize Christ, when the whole point of Christ sacrificing himself for the church, that is love. That's love. Imagine having the power to get rid of your enemies right there on the spot. But no, I'm going to suffer. I'm going to suffer. I'm going to be unalive. I'm going to be humiliated. I'm going to be tortured, all because I love my brothers and sisters. We're taught the exact opposite here in this place. In this place here, we're taught to, well, I'm not going to hurt for them. Well, better off them than me. As long as I got mine, they need to get theirs. That's what we're taught here. But Christ wasn't like that. Because if Christ was like that, we'd be cut off for now, from here on out. He wasn't like that. And we're supposed to follow Christ, which means we're supposed to follow that example. We're supposed to follow Christ the way he followed the law, statutes, and commandments. We're supposed to follow the law, statutes, and commandments as well. We're not supposed to throw our woman away and rack and throw away 35 different women and throw them out to the wolves so they can become whores. And we're whoremongers. And as women, we're not supposed to jump from man to man to man to man to man to man to man. We're supposed to be faithful just how Christ was faithful to us. And Christ gave his life. He gave his life for us. The best of us gave his life for the worst of us. That's sacrifice. That's love. That's love. Last one, that he may sanctify and cleanse it. Sanctify, when they talk about I'm saved and sanctified, saved and sanctified. You're sanctified, that's just cleansing. That he might sanctify and cleanse it with the washing of water by the word. So not no water baptism. Sodomite getting the water for a baptism, he gonna get up a wet sodomite. Whore getting a church Sunday for a baptism, she gonna get up a wet whore. That's it. When he talks about washing of water by the word, that's these laws, statutes, and commandments. That's by doing the laws, statutes, and commandments. That's how you are sanctified. That's how you are clean. That's how you are baptized, by doing the laws, statutes, and commandments. So again, all right, so we got a couple more. We're gonna get to them. I wanted to get to the precept that I know everybody knows. Everybody hears it. And I just wanted to show that this wasn't the only time that it's said here in the Bible that the wife, that the husband is the head of the wife, even as Christ is the head of the church. So I guess I'll read that, then we'll be done for the night. I was going to ask y'all, but because we be a little bit back on time, I'm just going to pull that up. So the precept for Ephesians 5 and 23, for the husband is the head of the wife, even as Christ is the head of the church, as he is the savior of the body, is going to be found in 1 Corinthians 11 and 3. And so again, next week when we come back in, it'll be a different title because it's always something crazy going on every day. But we'll pretty much pick up here. We'll go from there, and we'll keep it moving. We'll keep it moving. It was a couple of things we didn't get to, but we will get to. I wanted to kind of point out how all the things that we do now voluntarily, the slave master made us do during slavery. We were made to be whores in slavery. We were made to be whoremongers in slavery. We had no control of our bodies in slavery. None whatsoever. It wasn't in their laws. No control whatsoever. I can make you have sex with anybody I wanted to. I can have sex with you anytime that I want to. Anytime, anywhere, any place. You had nothing to say about it, and it was going to happen. It was going to happen. It's just a matter of time. No matter what age you were, no matter what sex you were, if you were or gender you were, a boy or a girl, it didn't matter. But now you fast forward to 2023 and all the things they made and they forced us to do. Now we do it voluntarily. Now we do it voluntarily. We don't mind. Salaki, it's a choice for us now. We want to do it now, and it's really a damn shame when you think about it. when you really think about it and you put it into that context, it's a shame. This is a war, and we are so happy to be the victims of this oppressor. We volunteered. You imagine a slave woman back then in the 1800s talking about she had 35 bodies with a smile on her face, being proud of it. Even though she done been took by the slave master 3,500 sometime, you think she would be proud of it then? But now we're proud of it now, and it's no big deal now. So last thing I'm gonna keep it on the same screen, and I'm gonna pull this one up. We'll get this last scripture, and then we're gonna get up out of here. And like I said, we'll just pick back up here tomorrow. I mean, I'm sorry, Salaki, not tomorrow, but next week we'll come back and we'll pick up here. I'm gonna go to 1 Corinthians chapter 11 and verse 3, and I just want to show or highlight how, again, when you're reading this Bible, the Bible says this is how you read it: precept upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line, line upon line. Here a little, there a little. What you find in the quote unquote old, you're gonna find in the new. It's gonna be a precept for it. The Bible is not wrote or meant to be read like a novel or nonfiction book from front to back. It doesn't work like that. It's wrote in code. It's wrote in slang. It's wrote to build upon each other. It's wrote where you're going to find it saying it here. You're going to find it, confirm it, saying the same thing over here. Why? Because the Lord knew our enemy was going to get our records and try to use our records to his advantage like he has done, use our records against us like he has done. So when the truth was the veil was unlifted, the truth came back into the world in 1969. This is how we be able to navigate it and see what the Bible really means or what it's really saying. This is why you can't be taught the Bible by everybody. Everybody that claims they know the Bible, they don't really know what they talk. Most of them, all of them, don't know what they're talking about. If they are not in the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, they are not authorized to be teaching the Bible in any way, shape, fashion, or form. Any way, shape, fashion, or form. And with that being said, we're going to get this last scripture and we're going to get ready to get up out of here. 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 3. But I would have you know that the head of every man is Christ. The head of every man is Christ. So our head, our leader, who we listen to, is our king, Yahushua. The head of every man is Christ, and the head of the woman is the man. Also, Mataz Zachariah says, heavy point, we do what we were once forced. And I was going to bring that out also. Then I was going to hit him with a little bit of Jeremiah, Israel, homeborn slave. So we'll pick up on, we'll get back to that again when we come back in Tuesday. But it's like I'll be sitting there listening to some of your classes, also Mataz Zachariah, and like, we'll listen to them. We'll listen to how horrific it is. When we went to that museum last weekend, you see how horrific the conditions were. And now you fast forward to now, we do all these things voluntarily now. They used you would go to a breeding farm, sleep with your sister, mother, whoever, a breeding farm. You were sat in that room and made to make babies, make babies, make babies, make babies, make babies. And now we proud to make babies, make babies, make babies, make babies. Our women were made to be whores and sleep with this man and that man and slave master when he wanted to, and this man and that man slave master when he wanted to. And now they do it on now they're proud of it. They be all on TV with their slave master proud, paying child support to the slave master because now they getting rid of their behind, but proud of it now, racking up bodies after bodies after body, and they're proud of it. Men, that we always that oppressor she always gets a pass. We don't realize just how vile, how despicable, and how wicked and cruel she was as well. She would force that man to lay down with her, force that slave to lay down with her, to be with Becky. And then when she got tired of him, or when she got found out by the slave master, by Esau, they unalived everybody. They unalived whole communities. And because she done cried assault when it wasn't really no assault, but she forced him to lay down with her. And you think about how nasty these people are. Think about that. You think, I'm not going to get too graphic, but you think about how nasty, how disgusting these people are. And so when you forced to lay down with them, that's under any conditions they say. Now I'll leave it at that. But now we do it voluntarily. Brother get a basketball contract. First thing he do is get him a Becky, put on his Kanye get one Becky to get him for $1 billion. She get him for half his doggone money. Got another oppressor with his child's name tattooed on him. He goes right out and get another oppressor. Wife up. Can't make this up. Can't make it up. So when they forced us to do it before, now we do it voluntarily with a smile on our face, and we don't realize we're following exactly what the slave master wants us to do. We don't realize we're doing exactly, we're playing right into their hand, and we are fighting. We are victims. We're losing this war. We're losing this war because we're continually trying to build up their nation, following their God, as opposed to building up Israel, Blacks, Latino, Native Indians, and following our God, the God of Israel, the Most High. So again, last one, 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 3. But I would have you know that the head of every man is Christ, our King, Yahweh Shai. That's the head of us. We got a head just like our women, our wives have a head. We got to follow. When you hear, you're gonna follow orders. You know what I mean? You're gonna follow orders from the men above you, just like our wives are supposed to listen and follow orders from us. And it's not like Esau's military. It's not like Esau's country or society. It's not based off cruelty and I just got power over you. It's out of love. It's out of following the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. It's out of love. It's based off love. It's a derivative of the love that we have for one another. And when it's out of love, it shouldn't be no problem. It shouldn't be no problem. That made me laugh a little bit. I remember the sodomite. Michael Jackson, before he left, they did that. This is it. Letting you know this is gonna be his last joint. But I remember he was going through correcting the different dances. He's saying in love, in love, in love. But when we do what we do is out of love. So we should listen to the Lord out of love, out of following the law, statutes, and commandments. We should listen to Christ Yahweh out of love, out of following the law, statutes, and commandments. And our wives should be listening to the husbands out of love, out following the law, statutes, and commandments. So I will have you know that the head of every man is Christ, and the head of the woman is the man. Ain't no getting around that. Church don't teach you that. Church says 50-50, happy wife, happy life. Happy wife, happy life. No makes no difference. Everybody else in the house miserable. Makes no difference. We can't pay no bills because we got because shopping is paramount here. We not gonna stay together because I can't teach my son to be a man because mama said that it's okay for boys to cry. I can't teach my daughter that real love, real man, not just gonna buy gifts for you because mom said, nah, we got to do Christmas, we got to do Valentine's Day. You treat her like the queen that she is. And it's not supposed to be that way. It's you should be following that husband, you should be following that man, and that man should be following Christ. And the head of Christ, even Christ listens, even Christ follows. He follows the Most High. The head of Christ is the Most High, our power. All right. So with that, do we have any questions, any comments, any concerns, anything you want to bring out? Very good class tonight. Again, we got a couple of things that we're gonna get to, but we'll get to them next week. We'll get to them. I'll highlight the stuff that we didn't get to tonight. We'll go back over it again. I appreciate all the participation in the class. Make sure you tune in tomorrow for Captain Natazat Nashaz, Captain Natazat Nashaz scripture breakdown class. He always gives a very excellent and thorough class. Any question you have, he will definitely make sure that he asks you. He will answer it. You will get the correct explanation of it. I won't say interpretation because the Bible says there's no such thing as any private interpretation. It says what it says. It means what it means. So with that, if we don't have any questions, any concerns, I'm going to go ahead and get to the security announcements, and we're going to go ahead and get you up out of here. All right. We are the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. Started out of 1 West, 125th Street, out of Harlem, New York, under Commandant General Yohana. We are not affiliated. We are not affiliated. I can't say that more than enough, or I can't stress that enough. We are not affiliated with any other Israelite group or Christian organization. If you are not in the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, you are not in the truth. I repeat, if you are not in the ISUPK, you are not in the truth. Rule for new brother or sister. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to shed themselves of the world. If they need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There's another 6 months in which the brother and sister will court each other. After this 6-month period, the brother and sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is a commandment found in Numbers 18, chapter 18, verse 21. Also in Malachi, chapter 3, verses 8 through 10. It means tenth in the Hebrew, ma'ashara. 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord gives you is supposed to go to the treasury fund, treasury department, or the teacher. There's also a priest fund. Priest fund is a free will offering for the priest. It's not mandatory, and it can be in whatsoever amount you would like. Upcoming holy convocations. Right now, we just got through starting the opening. Where is it at? Dog it. Okay, here we go. I got it right there. Oh, I had it right there. Give me a second. We just got through going through the opening of the Feast of Tabernacles, right? Correct. Okay, so we just got through with the opening of the Feast of the Tabernacles, which is the 15th day of the 8th month. That was this Friday, the 29th, and that's going to last until this Saturday, October 7th. And that'll be the actual close of the Feast of Tabernacles. That can be found in Leviticus chapter 23, verses 34 through 44. We won't have another holy convocation, another high holy day until the Feast of Dedication, which is Hanukkah. And that's going to be the 25th day of the 9th month by the span of 8 days. That'll be Thursday, December 7th for 8 days. And that can be found in 1 Maccabees chapter 4, verses 52 through 61. And with that, if a new brother, if anybody wants to be a trooper in the school, make sure you're wearing all black boots, all black shirt, pants, headband, and scarf. Make sure whenever you're in class, you sign in, you give your city name and state. I think that's about it. Again, so there are no other questions or concerns. The water for everybody being in here. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. The classes, the videos. We got over 1,000 some videos on each of our channels. We are on Israelite School, No College Virginia and No College Richmond. We're constantly coming out with different material. So make sure you like, share, subscribe. I know y'all probably are already subscribed to the TikTok, to the Instagram, and to the YouTube. But jump in those comments, leave a comment that helps push these videos out to the algorithm so other people can see them. Well, our whole mission is to fish, trying to get the word out to the people that the Lord wants to hear it. So again, by y'all going in there, leaving comments and sharing, that helps push the video out. So definitely make sure you do that. You take advantage of that. Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shah Baraka Thumb to the brothers. Yahweh Shema Thun Ba'ashem Yahweh Shah to all the sisters. And with that, Shalom Israel.